Kathy Pogue and her daughter, 18-year-old student Dana Pogue, are suing Dana's sister, 20-year-old caregiver Nina Hawk, and her husband, 22-year-old inventory specialist John Hawk. Catherine and Dana say the couple owe for babysitting fees, the value of a couch, and money taken from a bank account. The Hawks are countersuing for 3 months of living expenses.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 135 on the calendar in the matter of Pogue versus Hawk. You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mrs. Pogue, this young lady is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your other daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're the
husband.
Let's deal with your daughter's lawsuit first, because I think that might be easier. You are suing your sister because you claim when you were living with her, she had promised to pay you for babysitting.
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
18.
How old were you when you were living with your sister?
18.
When did you start to live with your sister?
The middle of February.
Why?
I was kicked out of my father's house because I did not get along with my new stepmother. So Nina and her husband said that it would be fine for me to move in with them.
How long had you been living with your father?
I moved in with my father when I was 15.
Prior to that, you had lived with your mother?
Yes.
Why did you leave your mother's house?
Me and my mom didn't really get along at the time.
Now, what was your living arrangement with your sister?
At the beginning, we lived in an apartment, and I had my own room. And then after that, we moved into a bigger house, so I still had my own room.
Okay. Were you paying any expenses?
Yes. Actually, no, I had them under my name. I had the cable under my name and the telephone under my name, but they were paying it.
So you were not paying any expenses in the house?
No, because I was still going to school. And
the answer is you were not. You were 18, but not paying any expenses in the house.
Yes.
Were you getting any money from your mother and father?
No.
Who was giving you spending money?
My sister.
And how many months did you live with her?
3 months, I think, exactly.
Is that right?
3.5 months.
So for 3.5 months, you lived while you were legally an adult, 18. You're living with your sister. You're not paying rent. You're not paying for food.
No,
You're not paying for transportation. And if you had to go to a movie or something, if you wanted to go to a movie or out with friends.
No,
I paid for it.
I never asked her to pay for it.
Did she ever give you any spending money? I mean, I can't believe that in 3.5 months you didn't say, could I have $5 or could I have $10 or...
Bought her clothes, gave her money. Yes, I gave her $50 one time, $30 another just for spending money, paid for her boutonniere for her prom, bought her pants, bought her a whole outfit, bought her food for a bird. She neglected to tell me the last month her bird was without food and it died. But besides that, I paid it all.
So why would you sue her for babysitting occasionally for her children?
Because it was a verbal agreement that she said she would give me $110 from her financial aid for going to school to watch her daughter.
During the summer, if I worked, and she made me almost lose my job. I had only worked there a week and a half, and she bailed out on me every single time I asked her to babysit during that only week and a half that she lived with me and I worked.
I'm not going to bother with your babysitting claim, so now you can sit down. You should say thank you to your sister and forget it. All right, now let's get to your claim. There came a time when you wanted to use a bank account that was your daughter's, and you put money into a bank account that was in her name and her husband's?
Just my name.
Just your name?
Mm-hmm.
She opened the account for me, Your Honor.
She couldn't get an account anywhere else. It was a favor.
But then, when you moved that account, there was some outstanding checks, I gather, or outstanding debits, and they took part of the balance that belonged to your mother. You acknowledge that?
Yes.
How much did they take that belonged to you?
$134.77, Your Honor.
Okay, well, you are clearly owed that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. She did not give me a chance to pay it, though.
All right, $134.77.
We called twice, Your Honor, and her husband said to me
after
on the
offering
phone,
to make payments.
no, before I even had any chance to say anything else, her husband said to me, quote, unquote, take me to court.
Lick my Your Honor.
And that was very unbelievable.
Yeah, it sure is. Not the way to speak to somebody, sir. I'm just telling you. There's no excuse for that.
She called. She called my mom's house because we didn't have a phone at the time, and told my mom what happened. So I think it was like 4 days later. I called her Colette.
He said, "I hear you're going to take me to court."
No, just please.
Okay.
I said, "I hear my mom tells me you're going to sue me for money that was taken out of your account to cover our other account." And she said yes. And I said, and she wanted the money by the 1st. She said it was part of her rent money. And I said, "I don't know if I can give you all that money by the 1st because my rent's also due." And she said that wasn't acceptable. She needed her money and that I was going to stiff her. And I said, "Well, then then sue me."
No, I'm telling you, sir, that what you said to her was uncalled for.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, good. Then I don't have to yell at you anymore.
Also, Your Honor, he told me that I couldn't see my granddaughter anymore.
He's an idiot.
Well, if you weren't smoking
why would
pot
you do
and
that?
drinking
Oh,
alcohol
just
and everything else,
Stop.
maybe I'd allow you.
Please, I am not getting into this. Let me just
No.
take care of the money, please.
Yes.
You want to fight with each other? Do it outside.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your Honor,
Listen to me. Shouldn't say anything else that is going to make any situation worse.
And later today,
They dressed shamelessly and makeup, and they were hellions. We're 9 and 11 going on 17.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Pogue and her daughter Dana Pogue say Dana's sister, Nina Hawk, and her husband John owe for babysitting fees, a couch, and stolen money.
You have some nonsense here about a couch that you say you loaned to your daughter and she sold.
yes, ma'am.
You sure you want to get into that?
Ma'am, that was the agreement
What?
between her and I.
What was the
Okay, I had a pretty good sized house, and I was going to move closer to my job.
Go ahead. What year was this?
The beginning of the year 2000.
All right. You said take one of my couches.
I said take both the sofa and the love seat. Please keep them in your control. If you decide to get rid of them, please, I would like them back. Or if you decide to sell them, this is how much I would like for them, because she said that her friend had expressed an interest in buying them. Come to find out, I asked her about them, and she said, "Oh no, Danielle has them in storage." And I said, "Oh well, then was Danielle going to buy them?" And she said, "Danielle already gave me the $350. And I said, "Well, then why didn't you give it to me?" She said, "Well, I needed to use it at the time." And I said, "Okay, I understand that, but that was the agreement that you agreed to
Okay.
pay for them."
Go ahead.
This woman talks to me on
No.
a daily basis.
Talk to me about the couches.
She knows exactly what happened. When I was 17, April, she moved out to live with her boyfriend in Vancouver. She left me half the furniture. I've still got the buffet table, the sewing machine, never said anything about payment. I never expected this. I sold it to a friend of mine a year later. I was evicted a week and a half after she moved out because she hadn't paid 4 months' rent.
Okay, when your mother moved, who remained in the house with you?
My boyfriend and his best friend had to move in and help pay expenses.
Just a second. So it was just you and your boyfriend.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty
close. Forget the couches. Judgment for the plaintiff on your claim for $134.77. Let me deal with your counterclaim for a moment,
Okay.
and it will take only a moment.
Okay.
Your sister moved in with you, and your counterclaim is that your mother should pay for the 3 months that your sister lived with you.
She offered to help pay out and never paid a
I
dime
did
to
not,
help.
Your Honor.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Well, if you did not have what I consider a real contract with your mother, your sister she certainly is under no obligation to pay anything for your sister who had turned 18. So you want to tell me what financial contract you allege with your mother with regard to your sister's support?
Not anything in writing, just verbally that she said she'd help out whenever she could and
Helping
did
out
not.
whenever she could is not a contract.
Yeah.
Because she can't. Because she's going to tell you that she can't. All right, so your counterclaim is dismissed, and on your claim you have $134.77.
Okay.
Listen, I don't know what caused all of this animus all of a sudden, because it sounds to me as if, despite its dysfunctional nature, the family had been working reasonably well.
I love both my daughters dearly, Your Honor.
Well,
Your Honor, may
Yeah.
I ask you something?
who are you?
I talked to
Just,
Mr.
no, how are you related to these people?
He lives with me, Your Honor.
I'm,
And
yes.
he spoke with John
It was-
about the money owed.
I'm the other person that was on the account. It was my money also.
Just a second. Are
I've
you
got proof
related?
that it
Are you
wasn't.
related to any of these people in any way?
No, Your Honor.
Then I don't want to hear from you.
They tried to say it was his.
Love your show, by the way.
Good. I love your silence.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Shouldn't say anything else that is going to make any situation worse.
Your Honor, I had no intention of doing that. I would like to tell you that the babysitting thing was Dana did want to go out and get a job. They told her, no, please, we will pay you for babysitting. That was how that all came about.
Ms. Polk, let me tell you something.
I understand.
If an 18-year-old moves in with a sister and her husband, and there isn't a lot of money floating around, it seems anywhere there's not a lot of money floating around, and it does cost money to have another human being in your house.
Yes.
I am positive that they extended themselves in certain ways financially.
That's probably
in order
true,
to have your daughter, her sister, living with them. Whether it's for a pair of shoes or a pair of sneakers or something for graduation or an outfit or $5 to go to the movies or whatever.
And
there shouldn't have been an issue. There shouldn't even have been an issue with regard to this suit by your daughter.
And I
That's all.
understand that.
So let's not say any more. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $134.77. That's all.
Thank you,
Parties
Your
are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
They just don't understand that family is family.
I'm really sorry it had to come to this.
Basically, they've run out of people to borrow money from because they burnt all their bridges, and that's what this is really about.
I don't understand why it happened.
I called him up, asked him if he wanted to handle it like a man and make payments, and he said, no, take me to court.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tate versus Enrico. Step forward, please.
Community advocate Valoria Tate is suing her neighbor, Secretary Laura Enrico, for slander and damage caused by her cats.
Miss Tate, it is your claim that the defendant's cats damaged some of your property. The two of you are neighbors and share a common garage and storage area. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And that sometime later, when you tried to remedy this situation yourself, the defendant posted flyers around or passed out flyers in the neighborhood accusing you of trying to poison animals and children.
After her neurotic behavior.
Okay. So how long have the two of you been neighbors and shared this common space?
I've lived there 5 years, and I'm not sure. I would say she's been there maybe 2 years.
Year and a half now.
Year and a half. You have two cats?
Yes.
Now tell me about this common space that you share.
I have pictures of the common area.
I'd like to see them.
That's supposedly where all of us can use the patio area. And I explained to the my neighbor that I'm highly allergic to pets, and I can't go down there and entertain myself or my friends as long as cats are living on our tables.
Go ahead.
So I have several pictures.
Is this the common space that you share?
That's part of it. That's in the garage, and that's my personal space. That table was made for me. It's actually higher than a normal
Just
table.
show me the
Okay.
Just show me the private space that you have for storage.
Space.
Okay. So tell me how her cats destroyed your property.
Well, it's before they destroyed my literature that I placed in my garage and covered it very well with bags and mothballs, they've already destroyed a couple of plant pots, and used the bathroom in my plant pot.
Did you see that, or did you just
I
assume?
saw that, and when I saw it, I nicely went over to Laura and I told her, "Your cat's potted in my plant and my pot," and she would come over, clean it up and say a few nasty things, but she would clean it up. The second time I did that, she was a little more angrier, and she literally went down to the patio, to the common court area, and she turns around like this. "Some people don't want my cat to, but not poop." Laura has this thing about you can't tell her to clean up behind her own pets because she feels, as she kind of indicated, cats have a right to.
All right, she'll tell me what she feels.
Okay. So therefore, I went to the management. They said they have approached her several times. They pointed out in the CNRs, the rules, that we can only have house pets. In fact, I asked my owner before I moved. I said, "I'm highly allergic."
Can I see the house rules, please?
Yeah. I told him, I said, "I'm highly allergic to pets. Do they have pets?" He says, "No, only house pets."
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valoria Tate says condo neighbor Laura Enrico owes for property damage caused by her cats. Valoria also claims Laura distributed a slanderous flyer calling her a pet killer.
Well, I've read the rules, and the rules clearly say that no pet is to be in a common area. Dog has to be kept on a leash at all times. Is this a picture of your cat on the table?
I can't see it.
Would you give that to her, please?
It's a black cat.
And is your cat a black cat?
He was, yes.
Now, after certain of your property was destroyed, and in your complaints say that you found that her cat urinated on a box, right? And there was literature in that box.
Yes.
What did you do?
What did I
do?
do?
You put mothballs around the area.
Oh, the reason I put the mothballs is before I left for the trip, her cat was in my area up on top of my boxes. I have never seen the cats on the boxes before at that time. So I went into the house, I had some mothballs, left the boxes on the boxes so you can see what they were, and I left. I went on my trip.
Okay. You had a confrontation with the defendant and a friend of hers accusing you of trying to poison children and animals.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And then you said that there were some flyers that were distributed. I'd like to see those.
Your Honor, the flyers was placed on everyone's door in our entire complex. There's 26 units.
Did you place this around?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
You got some nerve. You got some nerve.
I have concern for the animals and the children in the complex.
I want to tell you something. You got some nerve. If you have animals that in any way interfere with your neighbors' peaceful enjoyment of their property, you keep your animals in the house. What right do you have to let your animals outside into common areas, on tables, on chairs? What right do you have to do that? None. And you are so arrogant, as to say the last line here is, if you have a problem with allergies, dislikes, phobias, or such about animals in the building, it might be suggested to move to another building. And you go through this whole grandfather clause because two people had cats that were outside. You say now it's grandfather, so your cats can be outside. If you want to have house pets and you want to let them outside, go buy a house in the woods and let your animals out in the woods where they don't bother anybody. But you live in a condominium complex where there are lots of other people. And it is possible that some adults, some children are afraid of cats. Somebody might want to come and put their lunch on a table, and your cat has just been walking around after walking around in feces, now walks around on the table. That's outrageous. And your reaction is, what? Cats will be cats? I mean, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not, but my cats aren't the only ones in the courtyard. We have a lot of strays that come into the garage and come
That
into the
may
courtyard.
be. She can't complain about strays. Strays are not your problem. Your problem is your two cats. Because you are an owner or a tenant.
I'm an owner.
As an owner, you should want to do everything that you can to preserve the integrity of your space. What are you laughing about? Are you on medication?
No, I'm not your. No, I'm not, Your Honor. But the demonstrations of irrationality never occurred. She threatened me. She followed me.
Let me ask you this question: did you ever check with the management company to find out whether Miss Tate ever had any problems with prior tenants?
No.
You didn't?
No.
Did you ever have problems with prior tenants?
No.
I would say that you probably didn't. You keep your cats in your house because that's what the rules say. Specifically, rules that you gave and you signed for when you bought your condominium specifically said that only these two people, long gone, could have their cats out in the courtyard. You signed it. I assume when you signed it, you read it. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
So why didn't you abide by the rules you signed and read? Rules are your cats stay in your house. Yeah, right. And this is nasty.
Don't like having my animals threatened to be killed.
Well, why don't you keep your animals in your house?
I will from now on.
Perfect. Did we just solve that problem?
Yes, you did, Your Honor.
Fine. She doesn't mention your name in this, does she?
No.
Now, it's very possible that other people knew what she was talking about, but she doesn't mention your name.
May I share with you why she didn't have to?
Go ahead.
Because she made such a big scene about I was trying to kill these cats and children. All the neighbors heard it, and then she called the police. Well, they knew there was only one person she was referring to.
That I can't tell you what they knew.
But
she does not mention your name in this flyer. But certainly, Miss Enrico has agreed at this point, is that right, Miss Enrico, that you will keep your cats in your home from now on?
Yes.
Is that correct? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
That seems to solve the problem. I will prepare that order, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 295 on the calendar in the matter of Mergner versus Fickett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Mergner, you were at a party, and it is your claim that the defendant, while acting like a complete imbecile, started to hit golf balls off the hood of your car because somebody had said something to him that offended him. And he caused over $2,000 worth of damage to the roof of your car. Mr. Fickett says he did no such thing, and the only reason that you're suing him is probably because you were in some way infatuated with him, as all women are. And when you found out that he had a girlfriend, you probably got angry or something like that, right?
Something like that, Your Honor, yes.
Did you know him before this
No.
party?
No, I don't.
Who saw him on top of the car?
My witness, Joe Moore.
And I have the witness up here. Tell me your name, sir.
Joe Moore.
Mr. Moore, on what date was this party?
May 20-something. I'm not sure the exact date.
Where was it?
Tucson, Arizona, Grant and Silver Barrel.
At a friend's house.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the name of the friend?
Sean.
Don't look like a deer in headlights, sir. I'm not going to
Sure.
attack you. I'm just asking you some preliminary questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how many people were at this party?
30 at the most. A lot more than 30.
And was, don't speak until I speak to you. Was the defendant one of those people?
Yes, ma'am.
The plaintiff says that you actually observed the defendant doing something in or around or on her car.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you saw.
I saw the defendant standing on top of the car and kind of give a little jump as to indent the roof of the car.
This is ridiculous, Your Honor. He has nothing to go on this.
I don't want you to speak. What word didn't you understand when I said it nicely before?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I saw him do that and then proceed to like drop a golf ball and take the club and just start hitting a couple of golf balls after.
And then what did you do?
I turned around and I walked back in the house. I found my friend Shane, and I said, there's some guy outside jumping up and down on somebody's car, hitting golf balls off the top of the car with your golf clubs. So you might want to call the cops. You might want to come out here and check this out. And then
The police arrive?
No, ma'am. The police never arrived that night.
Who told you that something had happened to your car? Or did anybody?
Not until after the fact. He had already left. He basically wrecked the party. And my boyfriend had just graduated. It was his graduation party from the University of Arizona. So he decides to show up wearing an Arizona State hat. And
I don't care about that. I read that somebody was wearing the wrong kind of, he was wearing
Yes,
the wrong kind of
that's what
hat. Somebody
started
called him a jerk.
This is silly, Your Honor. This is what it's all about.
You're the...
Shh. Listen to me. When did you actually see the damage to your car?
Not until after he left, probably 2 in the morning.
Exactly.
Let me see the estimate for the damage.
This is the estimate.
Mr. Fickett, 2 times I've told you not to speak until I get to your side, which I believe I have assured you that...
I'm just shocked to hear all this. This is so ridiculous. Like, I can't believe she's like actually saying this. She has nothing to go on, no proof.
My mouth is running. When my mouth is running, yours doesn't run.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to try to say it as tastefully and with as much judicial temperament as I can muster. Keep your mouth shut until I talk to you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Looks like hail damage, Your Honor.
I assume what I'm looking at in some of these pictures are a footprint.
Yes. His footprints were all over.
Okay, now I'll hear you, Mr. Fickett.
All right, I went to this party. The only reason I went to this party was because my friend Nick, who wrestles at ASU, was visiting. And we went to the party, me and my girlfriend Kim here, went to the party just to hang out with him. We were having a casual discussion outside, me and my friend Nick. And from what she tells me, there were like a group of girls, maybe her friends, maybe someone didn't like her, maybe someone didn't like me. I don't know for what reason. There were a group of girls like, just whispering and gossiping like in the corner. She knows more about that than me. I was just hanging out. We were there maybe for an hour, hour and a half. It was graduation night at U of A. There were like 3 parties on the street. I wasn't even drinking. I mean, they were probably drunk as all hell being graduation. The reason I wasn't drinking was because I had a wrestling match the next morning. I fight professionally, and I'm known to be like rumored about to be like this big tough guy that causes all this trouble. And it's just a reputation that beholds me that isn't true. And this is just another jealous person or angry person that just wants to blame stuff on me, either because her car's really damaged, I don't know, or maybe she has something against me or my girlfriend.
She doesn't have anything against you.
Well, she has something against me if she wants to make this stuff up and bring me to court
Mr.
for it.
Fickett. Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
She doesn't have anything against you. She doesn't have anything against your girlfriend. She didn't see you do any damage to her car. She didn't tell the police she saw you do any damage to her car. She didn't tell me that she saw you do any damage to her car. He saw you do damage to her car. He doesn't want to date you. We don't want to blame the wrong person, do we?
No, ma'am.
You want to blame somebody. You blame Mr. Moore. Maybe he's jealous of you.
Any which way, she's coming up with a false witness to come up with her case.
No. She goes outside and she finds that her car has been damaged. She says, who damaged my car?
Well, if it was so urgent, why weren't the cops there that night? Why didn't she call the cops that night? Why is my name not in the police report? I mean,
Just a second. They did call the police. But from what you tell me, sir, it was graduation night. The police were probably very, very busy and not swift to respond to some fool standing on top of a car hitting golf balls off somebody's roof. They had other things to worry about, so they didn't show up.
I arrived
at the party. But it is clear to me that somebody was on the hood of this car. It is clear to me that somebody took a flying leap while they were on this car. And what I would try to figure out, Mr. Fickett, is why Mr. Moore would lie to me about having seen you do that. Did you have any prior relationship with him? Did you have any
I don't know
prior
these
problem
people.
with
I was
him?
at the party because of a friend of a friend.
Okay. So you don't. Just a second. So you don't know him. Is that right? You don't know him at all.
No.
Why in the world would somebody make up a story like that about you?
Because this petty girl's crying about someone damaging her car, and they need someone to blame.
So they blamed you.
I guess. Maybe they
You
don't
want
like
to tell
Arizona
me
State.
something?
It's me.
Step up, young lady.
I was
me your
there.
name.
My name's Kim.
Okay, Kim.
And I was there with him the whole night. This is kind of almost funny to us. When you pull into the street, when we first pulled into the street of where the party was going on, we had no idea where it was because, like he said, there was three parties. I mean, it's a big street. So we had to park like 2 streets down. There was tons of cars, tons of people walking around all over the place.
Get to the point.
Anybody could have done this. When he stands up here and gives like an oath, like, I'm sorry, but my dad's a minister. I don't know if you're religious, but that's like not cool. You don't stand up here because I was with him the whole night. The whole night. I stayed with him. I sat outside. Excuse me, I'm talking. I sat outside. I was talking to, I had seen a girlfriend of mine that I used to work with. He's talking to Nick. I'm talking to my girlfriend. An hour later, I go, I got a sociology class in the morning. You got a wrestling tournament. We better go. We hopped in the car. We said goodbye to everybody. And we left. The only person that we knew there was Nick and this girl that I had just seen there. And, you know, I mean, there was so many people there and there was so many parties going on at any time that I just can't comprehend how this guy is saying this. I was with him the whole night. I was by his side. I walked in the house at one point to go to the bathroom. And when he says 30 people, 70, if not more, when I walked in.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lovely young lady. Well, I have to make a judgment as to why Mr. Moore here would make up a story about having seen you cause the damage to the plaintiff's car. Now, I can understand why your girlfriend would tell me that you were together all evening, which isn't even true according to her, because she did go inside for a while to go to the bathroom. Probably was inside at least 10 minutes, because it takes that much time to get through 70 people to find out where the bathroom is and to get out. She wasn't with you the entire evening. The estimated damage is some $2,000 on this car. And it's not a new car.
Yeah, it's new to me, though.
I understand that. How much did you pay for it?
Roughly $5,000.
What do you mean, roughly $5,000?
Because my mom gave it to me. And it was originally her car. So it
was originally her car, and your mother gave it to you as a gift.
Because I'm going to school and I need a car.
Terrific. And this damage that was done to the car doesn't affect its drivability.
No, but I have to look at it every day and be reminded of him.
Of course you do. And I'm sure that if I award you $2,000, you're going to find a way to have it fixed for that $2,000. So that's what I'm awarding you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He likes to pick fights with people, and that's what he likes to do, and that's why he obviously wasn't invited. We don't associate with people like him.
They don't have anything better to do. They can't sit down and have a conversation like we were doing the whole night. They have to, yeah, dude, where's the pie of beer?
Everyone I talk to says he's psycho.
I've had jealous gossip about me before, and I just thought this was one of those cases. We found the golf club later, but it was broken in half at that point, so.
He fights in the Rage in the Cage circuit. That's the #1 reason why he's so well known, and that's why people think he's so crazy.
University of Arizona is the way to go.
Every time I'm with her or around her, I've been brought pain.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of DeVault versus Eddie. Step forward.
21-year-old student Amy DeVault is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old car salesman Cliff Eddy, for the down payment on a car and for several unpaid loans.
Ms. DeVault, according to your claim, the defendant owes you for a down payment that you loaned to him for a car.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Eddy, if I'm reading your answer correctly, sir, you acknowledge that she gave you the down payment for the car. Is that right?
That's correct.
And it was a loan.
That's correct.
But you say she owes you money, so it's a wash.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we can go over the basics very quickly. You were living together with him when you made this loan?
For a very short time, yes.
What's the short time?
I probably had moved in and moved out within a matter of 4 or 5 days.
And during that 4 or 5 day period is the time that you made this loan?
Yes.
Don't you ever watch this courtroom? Ever? Did you ever see the cases here?
Yes.
Did you ever learn anything?
I've learned a lesson now.
Sometimes you have to get burned yourself, and you can't learn by somebody else's mistakes. But I want you to keep watching. And how much was the down payment that you loaned to him?
The down payment was $1,000, and the loan was just over $1,000 for the coverage in case we couldn't make a payment.
You're suing for $1,711. What's the rest of the money for?
I had moved in with him, and I'd given him $200 for my share of the rent. I had also paid a few bills for him, which he ensured that I would be reimbursed for, a water bill and groceries, things like that. I bought tons of things for him. You know, I'll pay you back. I just don't have money right now, he assured me. He'd lost his job, and he had paychecks that had insufficient funds behind them.
I mean, all this happened in the 4 or 5 days?
No, we had been dating for a couple of months.
According to your complaint, you have some sort of an IOU that he wrote.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to see it. Where did you get this note from?
From a store where you purchase stationary legal documents.
When did you purchase this?
In the beginning of June.
Last June?
Yes.
And tell me what days you lived with him?
Approximately the end of May, beginning of June.
And what made you have him sign this June 30th note?
I had moved out and I wanted the money for the rent money that I had given him, and I wanted it back because I didn't live there for more than 2 or 3 days in June, which the money was for June's rent, and he had spent it.
Show this to him, please. Is that your signature, sir?
Yes, it is.
So you signed this note for $315, right?
That's correct.
Now, I'm just curious, Mr. Vault, what happened to the $1,000 for the car?
After the loan had gone through, we went to the bank and we had cashed.
No, but I'm asking you is you moved out.
Yes.
Right? So why would you have him sign a note for $315 when actually he owed you, according to you, at least $1,300? Why is this only for $315?
I have a second contract.
Let me see it. All right. Well, we're talking about two different things. You took out a loan. Now, was this the loan for the car?
Yes.
All right. He's paid off the car loan.
No,
Is that right, sir?
No.
That's what you said.
I paid off the balance of the vehicle. This was a separate loan through Wells Fargo Bank.
For what?
For $1,000 cash, down payment for the vehicle.
Oh, I see. This you didn't pay off?
No.
Okay. Now, your defense is, sir, that she owed you money.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Well, we started dating. We dated for about 4 or 5 months. She was in a sorority house then, and she would stay over at my house frequently, almost every night. When the summertime came, you have to leave the house for the summer. So she moved in with me then. In the process of that, I was working at a dealership in Corvallis there, and I was looking for another vehicle. I went down to...
Could you get what she owes you money for, sir? Is that what we're getting to?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
we're getting to.
Let's get there faster.
Okay. But I went down to the bank to get the loan. I couldn't get the loan because I have bad credit. So she was living with me at the time. She offered to help me out with that. We did that. There was no necessarily written contracts or anything of that
Get
nature.
to what she owes you money for, sir. I already got that part of the story. I finished with that. What does she owe you money for? What do you think? I don't remember my question? I'm not that old. Get there. Go ahead.
Well, she owes me money for the $315. I don't think is a necessary reimbursement. Other than that, the vehicle loan was paid off. There was no written contract for that. I don't think that I owe that money. The $315.
Listen to me.
It should be a wash.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I want you to tell me. I don't want you to tell me, sir, that this you don't think is right, and this you don't think is right.
Mm-hmm.
Your defense to this case is she owes me money, and therefore the $1,700 she's suing me for, the loan and the promissory note, it's a wash because she actually owed me about the same amount of money. That's your defense. Now, so you either have two things that you can do. Either you can say to me, I didn't know what I was doing when I wrote my answer because she really doesn't owe me any money. And my defense is, blah. Or you can tell me what she owes you money for.
She lived with me for about 4 months.
Okay, go ahead. She lived with you for 4 months. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, she lived with me for about 4 or 5 days, about 2 weeks, I would rather say. About 2 weeks. But the whole time prior to that, she was staying at my house almost every single day.
Yes.
And that was a matter of bills and whatnot.
Go ahead. So what does she owe you?
My duplex ran about $750 a month was my rent, plus the bills. All the bills were in my name. I lived there by myself.
Yes.
For the whole time together, I think that it should be a washout. It's a washout.
When she would come over and stay at your duplex with you, did she also maintain a room in the college dorm or someplace else?
Yeah.
Did you pay for half of that rent?
No.
Did you ever have an agreement with her to pay for half the rent while she was staying over at your
No.
house periodically?
Mm-mm.
So I want you to go like this. Blah, 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 blah. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all.
23-year-old accounting assistant Ilana Martin is suing 65-year-old beauty college owner Giovanni Scavo for $5,000. Ilana says that during a hair treatment at Giovanni's beauty school, a student hairstylist burned her face.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 606 on the calendar in the matter of Martin versus Scavo. As a sworn-in judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Miss Martin, it is your complaint that you were injured while you were having a hair process done at the defendant's establishment.
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. What kind of establishment does he have?
A beauty school.
And are these people who work in the establishment licensed beauticians?
Not yet. They're students.
Okay. And you knew that when you went in?
Yes, I did.
And when did you first start going to his school?
I don't remember the exact date. I would like to say December of last year.
And what kind of processing did you have at the school?
Normally, I would just get a flat iron, basically a straightening with a pressing kind of iron, and it's just straightening the hair, like a pressing.
It's a hot iron?
Mm-hmm, correct.
Well, that's your complaint. You complained that sometime in January, was it in January?
Yes, January 19th.
You were burned with the iron?
Yes.
And you want to be compensated?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How many times had you had your hair straightened before January 19th?
At least 8 times.
With the same person?
With the same person, and occasionally with someone else. But I was confident in her work, so I would usually make an appointment with her.
What's her name?
Aisha.
And what happened when you came in on the 19th?
She seemed a little preoccupied, but I didn't think that I was in any danger. And while she was almost finished, she was straightening this portion of my hair over here near the right temple, and the end of it touched me on the right temple, and I still have a scar, permanent scar.
Could you step up for a minute? I want to take a look at that.
Yes. And would you like to see any pictures?
Well, first let me see the scar itself. Right over here?
Yes, right temple.
With the triangular shape. Okay.
Correct.
Step back. Okay. What happened after she touched your face?
After she touched my face, I expected an apology at the very least. If it had been me, I believe I would have been so shocked I would have said oops or I apologize or whatever. I didn't receive that. Basically, I think she was annoyed.
Don't tell me what you think. Tell me what happened.
Okay, I'm sorry. Basically, it appeared that she was annoyed, and I said that I needed to tell the management or whoever was in charge that this had happened.
Did somebody come over to look at you, or did you go to see the manager?
Well, there were two people that were in charge, and one came over and told Aisha to give me a type of ointment, and that didn't seem to help. It was still hurting. And then the other lady, who I presume is higher up, came over and informed me that this type of thing is normal and it happens sometimes, and basically I can't expect to be compensated for such a
Well, did
occurrence.
you ask for compensation at that time?
I did. I wanted,
What did you say?
I wanted a facial, free facial. Basically,
So what
do
did you say? You
anything.
burned me and I want a free facial?
I said that I've been burned, and I said that this is negligence, basically, and I said, are you trying to dismiss this? Are you trying to make light of it? And she said that she wasn't, but I could tell that basically she was trying to brush it off.
When did you discuss free facial with her?
Right there, while I was sitting
Well, tell
in the
me
chair.
what you said to her.
I said, at the very least, can I at least get a free facial, like when I come back, because I don't want her to do my hair again. I don't want to get my hair done.
Mhm.
So since I wouldn't want you to, have me get something with the hair, can I just, facial or something?
Did you subsequently go to a doctor?
Yes. When I got to urgent care.
Do you have a report from them?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
And when I got to H.
Your entire bills were $5?
Well, I did go back again to the doctor in February, the beginning of February, because I had expected it to fade away or something. I had been treating it with the ointment they had given me and everything, but it was still there. And basically, he was telling me that there was nothing he could do. So I'm assuming that I'm just going to be stuck with a permanent scar.
Mhm. Were you there when this incident
no,
happened?
ma'am. I was not on the premises when the alleged accident happened.
Well, who was there?
Ms. Asaf is the supervisor,
Step up, please.
and Aisha was the student that performed the services.
Okay. One of my questions is, when someone comes into a school to have work done, do they sign any sort of release?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see the release that they
Yes.
sign? Because that would strike me as something that people would sign.
Excuse me, Your Honor?
Yes.
The release I signed was for a perm when I had a relaxer put on my hair.
Just a minute. Just a second. I'm reading. That was the first thing that struck me. I didn't see anything about a release there. Okay. This says that you understand that the Elegante Beauty College is a school which instructs students who wish to become beauticians, and that the operators who will perform the work upon me are students and not fully trained and licensed professionals. Because of their inexperience, there is a risk that I could be injured or sustain damage from the negligence or carelessness of such student in performing the work done upon me. Nevertheless, in consideration of a reduced charge I will pay for such services, I agree to assume the risk of any injury or damage that I may suffer because of such negligence or carelessness. And I agree to give up my right to make a claim against the student, the school, the instructor, or any school personnel. And you signed it, and it's dated November 3rd, 2000. Right?
Yes, Your
So?
Honor. I signed that when I received a relaxer, because I believe anytime that there's chemicals put on the hair, that's when they have you sign that.
No, that's not what this says. That's not what this says at all. And one would not expect them to have you sign one each time you came in. You came in, according to you, 8 times, Miss Martin. The most important thing here, whether it's a relaxer or using a hot iron or whatever it is they are telling you that their students are, quote, not fully trained and licensed professionals. And they go on to say that because of their inexperience, there is a risk that I could be injured or sustain damage from their negligence or carelessness. The situation didn't change from November until January. You still were going to the school. You still knew that you were dealing with students who weren't fully trained and that you had signed an agreement not to sue them, right?
Yes.
So?
But like I was saying, I had believed that I was signing it only because of the chemicals used.
You mean chemicals would be all right, hot irons are not? That's ridiculous.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ilana Martin says a student at Giovanni Scavo's beauty school burned her face while straightening her hair. She's suing for $5,000.
You indicate in your answer the plaintiff was burned once before.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that true?
Yes.
When was that?
On December 23rd, she came in, and another instructor, another student by the name of Heather, did her because Aisha could not do her at that time.
Is that true?
That is true.
So Heather did your hair on December 23rd?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And Heather needed help from an instructor, and the instructor went for the finishing touches around the hairline, and you have to use a comb. She used the comb, which I have here.
What kind of comb? A regular comb?
It's a pressing comb.
Pressing comb.
This is what can get real close to the hairline. And the instructor, which has many years' experience, accidentally touched around her hairline and burned her. So that's when Miss McDonough, one of the instructors, came up, and she also applied an ointment. And then she said, well, because of your inconvenience, we're going to give you a free service so we can check the burn out and make sure
so
that...
you gave her a free service?
We gave her about 6 free services, as I recall, Your Honor.
Were you burned once before there on the 23rd of December?
Yes, I was. But because they had agreed to compensate me for my troubles, then I, didn't think it to press on about it.
In exchange for being burned, you agreed to accept some free services.
Right. But the thing, if you don't mind, when she burned me, it was, I'm talking about Miss Neal this time, it was on the hairline. I mean, this other burn, by Aisha, that's nowhere near my hairline.
Of course it isn't near your hairline. But Miss Martin, according to your statement to me, what you did at that point was say, I want a free facial. And then they said no. And then you decided to sue them for $5,000. You went back for a similar kind of treatment to the same place where you were hurt less than a month later. Just not smart. I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't let somebody who had burned me once do it again. In any event, you released the school from any claims of liability arising out of any treatment that you received while at the school because Aisha is not a licensed beautician. She's a student in training. You were told that she could hurt you. She did, in fact, hurt you. You agreed to accept that possibility in exchange for the reduced charge that you were paying at the school rather than going to a beauty salon. So unless you can establish to my satisfaction that there was something other than negligence here, you have no case. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. I mean, she didn't do it purposely, did
Right.
she?
Well, I don't know what was in her head, so I can't.
Well, I can
assume.
guarantee you that she didn't burn you purposely. That's all. Case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Right after I burned her, she screamed immediately and called one of my instructors. She made a big scene about it.
Basically, just go to a regular salon?
He, the phony, would not blame another hairdresser for what he did.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ackerman versus Peart. Step forward, please.
44-year-old accounts receivable clerk Ruth Ackerman and her daughter, 18-year-old Crystal, are suing Crystal's half-sister, 24-year-old office manager Melissa Peart, and her husband, Tyson Peart. Crystal says Melissa won't return her furniture.
What's your first name?
Crystal?
Crystal, this is your sister.
Yes.
You're the mother.
Yes.
You're the husband.
Yes.
Hers. According to your complaint, there came a time that for some reason you moved into your sister's home with her husband. Had she been living with you before?
My daughter?
Yes. How old were you?
I was 17 at the time. Oh, sorry, 18 in November. I just turned 18.
Why did you go and live with your sister?
I was living at a drug home at the time with my friends, and she suggested that would be the best place for me to
What do
be.
you mean a drug home?
Friends using drugs.
How long had you been living there?
For about a month and a half.
Where'd you live before that?
With my mother.
Why
and
did you move out of your mother's home?
Because I was a rebellious teen.
So your sister did a nice thing. She said, come and live with me.
Yes.
You lived there from November of 2000 until when?
To February.
And then she told you to leave.
Yes.
Why?
Well, we weren't getting along the end of the last month in February and January. Weren't getting along. She did kick me out about 5 different times.
Were you breaking the rules?
Yes.
This lawsuit says that when you left 2 things there. One was a chest and your bed.
Correct.
And you want those things back or their value. Your sister says she held on to them for about 6 months and then got rid of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go after you left your sister's house?
I moved in with a friend into an apartment.
Why didn't you take your chest and your bed?
We couldn't fit it in.
Did you tell your sister that?
Yes.
What did she say?
She didn't say anything. She
Did
was
she
very
let-
silent towards me.
You were angry with her?
I was, Your Honor. I gave her 7 days to move her stuff out.
And this chest and bed, were they in a room that you needed?
Yes, they were.
She doesn't have to keep your stuff forever.
A couple times I was trying to make arrangements with my friends to get a truck to go in there and get my stuff out. Unfortunately, I have no truck. I have a little car, can't fit a bed and cedar chest on top of it.
When did you sell it?
June.
Who did you sell it to?
I sold it to a coworker of my husband's and to a friend.
Okay, how much did you get for it?
Total together, I got 110.
Now, your daughter moved out in February.
Mm-hmm.
Did you call your other daughter in February or March and say, I'm going to come and pick up this bed?
No, we didn't.
Why not?
We actually did tell Crystal that she could store the stuff at our house. We kept telling her to go get the stuff.
And she didn't?
And she did not go get the stuff.
When you moved in with your sister, you lived there for November, December, January, 3 months. Did she support you?
Yes.
You weren't working?
No, I was looking for a job. I had a job when I was living there, and I did lose the job.
So your sister took care of you?
Yes.
So why would you want to sue her?
I just want my stuff back.
She doesn't have it.
Well, I want what she sold. That's my bed, my cedar chest. My cedar chest means a lot. I got it for my 16th birthday from my parents. I mean,
Well, she sold both things.
it's
So-
valuable stuff to me.
She doesn't have them. She kept them in her house for months. You couldn't get a truck. Your mother wasn't talking to her directly. She was talking to you. She could have stored the stuff but never made arrangements. And I assume that you and your other daughter are not getting along for some reason. Is that right?
In the last couple of months, yes. But
that's
prior to her moving out and that, no. We were fine.
Your Honor.
Yes.
And the reason why this pretty much whole thing started, because I found my biological father, and when my grandfather passed away in May, he was asked to be a pallbearer, not my stepdad. So now the family's mad at me because I found my real dad, and they're just vindictive towards me right now.
She found her father 5 years ago. And I knew that 5 years ago, and I accepted that as long as she kept it to herself. Her father signed legal rights for adoption. He wanted nothing to do with her. And within my books of my feelings, he had no rights to her at all. I did tell her, that's fine, but you keep it to your side, your family, that's fine that you've seen your father. I did not need it in my life. I didn't have to have it in my life. My father that passed on was my father. She was only a granddaughter. A funeral is for the people who are alive, not dead. And my father wanted a quiet family funeral, and he was not my family. He might have been my daughter's, but he was not my family. So due to that, yeah, we got a lot of hurt out of it.
It's time for it to be over.
It is. And because of all this, Crystal decided to go get her stuff. I kept telling her to get it. Crystal was sick the day she made arrangements to go get the bed. I went with my daughter, Tracy, to go get it, and she was not home that day. So within 2 days, she had sold the bed, apparently.
But meanwhile, she took care of your daughter. And if the bad feeling that exists now between you and your daughter has to do with her finding a biological parent and involving him in your father's funeral, which is, I assume, what you are hurt about, you have to understand something. When you make choices, you made a choice, you had a child, and so did her biological father at that time, and I assume you were both much younger, but children have a natural curiosity. Children very often have a need to know their biological parents. Even if her adoptive father was wonderful to her, there is sometimes that need. And maybe it was wrong for her to involve her biological father in your father's funeral. I don't disagree with that. But it's over. It doesn't mar something forever. It doesn't mar that.
Your Honor, it wasn't me involving him into the funeral. It was actually my grandfather's wishes. They were very best friends in the past, and within the last 5 years, he begged me to bring him around because my grandpa was on his deathbed. And I brought him around only under my grandpa and grandma's wishes, and it was my grandfather's wishes to have him there. It wasn't me. I had no idea.
Did you tell that to your mother?
I surely did.
I don't
Certainly
believe it. I'm next to my dad on his deathbed. I was about the last one to see him before he went into his coma.
Well, what about your mother? Did your mother tell you that that's what he wanted?
My mother didn't tell me until the day we was at the funeral home making the arrangements of who the pallbearers were. That's
but
when
did
she
your mother
told me.
tell you that that was your father's request?
She said, I don't believe her.
Then you don't believe your mother and you don't believe your daughter?
No.
Then you have a problem.
No, because in Christmas time...
No, then you have a problem.
My father said what Melissa was doing was wrong. So why would he found something different?
Maybe it's because that's what he thought you wanted to hear. Why would your mother, who I assume lived with your father for how many years?
30 years.
30 years. Why would your mother do something that she knew was exactly the opposite of what your father would want done at his funeral? In any event, she doesn't have the bed and chest anymore. She sold them. Did you tell your mother you sold them for $120?
I miscalculated. I apologize.
We have the bills of sale.
I have the
for
bill
both.
of sale.
Them, please?
I actually
And the
sold...
rental agreement that Crystal signed.
I have the bill of sale on both of them, and I actually sold them on the 11th of May and the 1st of June. I arranged for pickup on the 4th of June. After I gave Crystal, I talked to her, wanted to give her one last chance to make arrangements to come get it, but she didn't.
You have any problem giving your sister the $110 you got for her things?
I do.
Chris, Missy didn't sell the bed
I want to
for-
explain something to you. This is a non-case. $110 is what she sold the stuff for. You're suing for $600, which is ridiculous. It costs more than $600 to feed you, take care of you, provide you with a home for 3 months, which your sister did, so I have no idea what you're doing here. However, I don't think it's fair that you keep the money for her things, so I'm going to give her the $110. That's it. Do you understand? Instead of saying thank you, you sue her. Ridiculous. Goodbye.
Nothing in that house was hurt.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bloom parent versus parent. Step forward, please.
57-year-old Shirley Bloom and her daughter, 23-year-old teacher Terry Parent, are suing Shirley's son, 21-year-old plumber's assistant Jess Parent, for an unpaid loan to keep him out of jail.
According to your complaint, there came a time when your son was facing a prison term or facing jail unless he could come up with some money. You took out a loan so he would have the money, but you needed some collateral, and the only collateral that you had was your mother's car, which you did put up as collateral for this loan. Your brother hasn't paid back the loan. What was he facing jail about?
It was for deferred adjudication, and he had hot checks.
A deferred adjudication, which means if he paid back the money, he wouldn't go to jail.
Right.
Okay, and how much money did he have to come up with?
Altogether, it was like $1,900.
So did he come to you and ask you for the money?
Actually, he came to my mom.
What did he say to you, Miss Blum?
He told me that if he didn't have this money by this certain time, that his probation officer, when his probation was off, that they would automatically give him a year. And if he went to jail, then he would go automatically to prison.
You then spoke to your daughter?
Right.
I used my mother's vehicle. It's a '97 Kia Sophia, and got the lease and the amount of money I needed.
And what were the monthly payments on it?
Every week it was $38.72. On March 23rd, 2001, I paid the loan off, which he didn't help me other than maybe, 6, 7 payments of all.
$871 he gave you back.
I had to pay off the loan, which was $1,987.22.
Okay, let's hear from you.
I disagree with everything that was just said, because I'd give my mom money to the fact that if the baby, my sister's baby, needed something, I'd give him some money. Every time I got paid, I'd give him some money.
That's not
true.
true.
To help
That's
them out.
not true, Jess. You know that.
I mean, anytime they needed help, I would help them out. And I mean, it's just been going on like this since I was little. I mean, she's been wanting money. I mean, I had a job.
Let's go back.
Okay.
You faced a term of imprisonment on a deferred adjudication. You had to come up with some money all at one time. Did you ask your mother for the money?
No, ma'am. It
Did
wasn't that much.
Just a second. Okay. Did you discuss with your mother the fact that if you didn't come up with a bulk piece of money, you were going to go to jail?
No, ma'am. I had a job, and it wasn't that much money. For deferred adjudication, I was not going to, it wasn't having to pay a fine.
Is what you're telling me that your sister never gave you a check to give to the court for fines?
No.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
And that was on or about August of 2000?
Yes. I had a job. I was working.
That's not what I asked you.
Okay.
Are you telling me that you never, in August of 2000, needed a bulk sum of money to pay fines and other bad checks? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
What's the name of your probation officer?
Dolores.
What's her phone number?
I have no idea.
Oh, sure you do. You have to call and check in with your probation officer, sir.
I went and seen her once a month. I never had a call and check or nothing.
Does that name sound familiar to you?
Yes, it does.
Do you have the telephone number of the probation officer?
No, I don't. I never got anything like that. He would never give it to me because he didn't want me to talk to her.
Do you have a copy of the check?
No, we just have the copy of the loan.
The agreement, the lease agreement.
And
for
I have, these are checks that I picked up with some of that money for him because he was going to go to jail that day if they weren't paid. And the rest of it I gave it to him to pay his fine.
Well, you certainly made restitution on that date, sir. So that takes care of your argument that you didn't need a bulk of money in August.
I didn't. I had to pay a certain payment before that date.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, why would we get the loan if, I mean, I have my own responsibilities,
What did
more or
you do
less.
with the check that you got for it?
I cashed it and I gave him the, my mother went and paid off some of his hot checks, which we gave you the paperwork on that.
And the rest of it we gave to him.
How many bad checks did you write?
I wrote, I'd say around 4 or 5.
That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true.
I wrote about 4 or 5 hot checks because I had gotten kicked out of their house. So.
What'd you get kicked out for?
Well, she wanted more money from me, and I only had so much money. I was getting.
That's not
I
true,
gave
Jess.
her most
That's
of
not-
my check.
No.
Yes, that is true. Every week when I got paid, I got a certain amount. That's all I would get. I'd give her the rent. I didn't mind paying rent. I don't mind doing that. You know,
Well,
I
how
feel
old are you?
responsible. You know,
How
I'm
old are you?
21. I don't mind paying rent at all. That's part of life. You know. But I mean, you shouldn't work all week for just like $50
When you have
a
that
week
many
when you
bills.
give your whole check to your mom. I mean, that's supposed to be your mom, not your money taker.
That's right.
you
And
know.
it's supposed to be your mom.
Don't talk to him.
Your Honor, I keep a diary because he accused me several times of taking his money. He'd give me money, right. By the end of the week, he would borrow it all back. And he'd say, Mom, why don't I have any money? So I kept a little calendar. And every time he got money from me, I wrote it down. And I made copies for you, if you want to see them, showing since the time we had to get him out of jail the first time, which was like almost $700 that weekend, getting him out of jail when he got in trouble, that he never paid back.
You been arrested since, sir?
No, ma'am.
How many times have you been arrested altogether?
I'd say twice.
Yes.
I'd say twice.
Yeah.
I'd
Well,
say.
it wasn't nothing besides traffic tickets. I mean, that's why. I mean, I
And
got.
lying to a judge.
That's why I got. Well, the second time I got thrown in jail for lying to an officer, and the officer came back and put me in jail for that.
Oh, good. And what's next?
And then the other one was for traffic tickets.
And the other one was for bad checks.
No, I never got thrown in jail for bad checks.
No, because Mama helped and paid.
No, because I worked and paid for them.
No,
You got
The
arrested for
loan-
bad. Just a second. You got arrested for bad checks, didn't you?
No, he never
I
got
never got
arrested.
arrested for
Never
bad
got
checks.
arrested
No,
for the bad
because I
checks.
paid him off.
No, he came
so
to
I
us
see.
whining about
I
he was
see.
gonna
He
go to
was
jail.
on probation for something else.
Right.
Oh.
officer.
Oh, what? For lying to an officer?
Right.
Yes.
What'd you lie to him about?
I told him a different name because I knew I had a traffic ticket out.
Oh, so, and that wasn't hard to lie to the officer, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Good.
It was
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,987.
Brock versus Courtney. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Brock, you are a peace officer, is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
Your complaint is that you made a traffic stop of the defendant for speeding, and that subsequent to giving him a ticket, he filed a complaint against you, which was patently false, with internal affairs causing an investigation. And while you were cleared of all charges, that report will remain on your file permanently, and you want him to pay you damages.
That's correct.
That's what the case is about. So I have a couple of questions, then I'm going to go to Mr. Courtney. How long have you been a peace officer?
I've been a peace officer, Your Honor, for approximately 9 years.
And what is your assignment, sir?
I'm assigned to the traffic division as a motor officer and an accident investigator.
When did this incident happen?
The incident occurred on September 2nd of 2000,
What time of day?
approximately 8:30 in the morning.
And what was the reason that you stopped the defendant's car?
On that date and time, Your Honor, I was in uniform working speed enforcement in my jurisdiction when my attention was drawn to a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed on a street named El Camino Real. My visual estimation of the vehicle's speed was approximately 50 miles an hour, which is about 15 miles an hour over what's posted for that roadway. And that roadway in itself has numerous driveways and businesses in this particular area, which restricts a sight distance for vehicles traveling.
Whatever. So you thought he was going about 15 miles over the posted speed limit?
That's correct.
You pulled him over?
Yes.
When you pulled him over, you identified yourself as a peace officer?
Yes, I did, and I was in uniform.
Mr. Courtney, I'm going to come to you next, and I want you to tell me your version of what happened after you were pulled over.
The officer came up to my window, and I inquired of him as to why
Just tell me what you said. I inquired of him. Tell me what you said to him. He came up to your window. Did he say anything to you, or did you say something first?
He asked me for my identification.
Did he say, can I have your identification
Yes.
or your driver's license and registration?
Exactly. Yes, he
No.
did.
Which one?
He asked me for my driver's license and for registration.
Did you give it to him?
I looked for it, and then I suddenly remembered that all of my identification, along with my passport, was in my briefcase, which was sitting at home in another vehicle with my driver waiting to take me to LAX. I was on my way to Europe.
And you told him you didn't have
Yes, I did.
driver's license nor the registration for the car.
Yes.
What did he say to you then?
He asked me for my particulars, my age, my date of birth, my address, my height, my weight, color of my eyes, and I gave him that information.
Okay. Go ahead.
And he then returned to his motorcycle, which was probably 5 to 10 yards, parked behind my car, and he was there for quite some time.
And then?
Then he returned to the car, and he presented me with a ticket to sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I signed it.
And then?
And then he tore the ticket off, and he left.
So that all sounds very nice. And then what did you do?
Well, there was a lot that transpired in between
Well,
because
I'm
of his
asking
actions.
you. I mean, we're not going to play I've Got a Secret in 20 Questions, Mr. Courtney. So far, you told me what happens when you make a routine traffic stop, license, registration you don't have, checks your ID, gives you a ticket, and you both go on your way. That sounds all
the
very
gentleman
nice.
here, while he's composed today, was
No,
quite...
no, just tell me what happened,
He was
Mr.
agitated.
Courtney.
He was very agitated.
Tell me, sir. He comes and he asks for your license and registration. You don't have it. I want you to tell me point by point, which I thought you did, what it was that caused you to file a complaint against him.
When he approached me, Your Honor, he appeared agitated.
How did he appear agitated?
When someone looks at a person and they're not composed, possibly he had a bad start to his day, I don't know, and he did...
So he appeared agitated.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then, when I told him that I didn't have my identification with me, he just didn't seem to believe me, and he became more agitated.
No, don't tell me agitated. What did he say to you, sir?
He told me he was going to take me to magistrate's court.
Okay, go ahead.
And that was after I had informed him that I was on my way to LAX to fly to Europe, so I assumed he was going to take me to magistrate's court. I was going to miss my flight.
So what did you say to him?
I just basically cooperated with him and gave him the
tell me what
information
you
that he
said.
wanted to. I don't recall exactly what I said to him at that moment, but what I did do is I got on the phone and I dialed 911 right away.
Why?
Because of how he was conducting himself.
So far, I haven't heard anything, sir,
well,
untoward.
I'm about to share it with you. He was,
Well, please
he
share
was
it.
very animated.
How animated?
He was animated to the point whereby he was in my face in my car.
How was he in your car?
His face was literally 12 to 18 inches from my face, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, rather than having a good 3-foot distance where people can just communicate with one another. He was in the car, so to speak. He was in my face. He was not happy. He was in a bad mood. He was agitated.
Your Honor, this man is perjuring himself.
Just a second. Now, after he left, according to you, there were no words that he said to you. It was his affect. Is that right?
No, he had threatened to take me to magistrate's court, and
That
I
is
couldn't
his right.
understand why.
That is his right to take you to magistrate's court, sir. So that's not a threat. There were no words that he said to you that were threatening. It was his affect.
And his hand on his gun, Your Honor.
Yes.
This was just a simple traffic stop
Well,
on a
it's
Saturday
simple-
morning.
It's a simple traffic stop, Mr. Courtney, except that the person who was stopped had no identification, had no license, had no registration. So what initially is a traffic stop becomes something else when there is no identification. I'm going to repeat myself. Other than the fact that you say his affect appeared to be agitated, he did not threaten you in any way. He didn't curse at you in any way. Is that right?
Oh, that's not correct, Your Honor.
Well, what did he say to you, sir? That's what I'm trying to get
The
to, Mr. Courtney.
intonation in his voice, he was very abusive in how he addressed me.
Tell me, sir, what he said.
I don't recall the exact words, Your Honor, but just the manner in which he conducted himself.
May I
He didn't
s-
comport himself properly.
All right. May I see the report that was filed, please?
This is a letter that he wrote to my department
I'd like
for
to see
Internal
that.
Affairs. That's the letter right there.
Your
of the
Honor,
things-
may I make a point, please?
Yes.
Some of the points he made in the letter using the words.
Go ahead. Shh. Just a minute. Go ahead.
This incident occurred September 2nd. The Criminal Investigation Department conducted its investigation, wrote a letter back saying that they weren't going to pursue anything against the gentleman. Therefore, I assumed it was fait accompli, everything was over. I talked with my lawyer here in Beverly Hills. He said, pack it in, forget it. So I shredded everything.
Well, I have it here.
No, I appreciate that, but I wanted to peruse it prior to coming on the show.
Okay. Well, in the letter, Mr. Courtney, that you've written to the police department, you have accused the plaintiff of not only menacing affect, but of cursing at you on at least 3 occasions, something that one would necessarily remember if you remember his affect. I'm going to make a mark.
Your Honor, while you were
Just
looking
a
at
second, just a second, sir. Would you show this to the defendant, please?
Thank you.
Read the portions that I've checked.
I apologize. I don't have my glasses with me.
It's a strong
Are
enough
we in
for
the same
anybody.
age? We're in the same age range?
I'm younger than you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Edwin Brock claims Donald Courtney filed a false complaint after a traffic stop. Donald claims Deputy Brock was verbally abusive.
Can you read with my glasses?
Yes, I can. Perfectly.
Now, I'll take them back. And the paper.
Thank you.
Without going into graphic detail. Well, I best go into graphic detail because we have a record here. When I was signing the ticket in shrieking tones, according to you, he said, sign the ticket or you're going to court now. That I would remember. Then, you say, he said to you with his finger, you and your limousine. And then you say he said to you, when you said, please just give me the ticket. And at this point he erupted and said, I've had enough from you. Those are things that I would remember if I were telling a story, Mr. Courtney. Mr. Brock, according to your complaint, sir, you made this stop. And the time you made the stop, you took out a recording device. Is that right?
Essentially, Your Honor, yes.
Not essentially. That's what you said here. You said, I got off my bike and turned on my tape recorder.
Yes. It's a device that I wear on my belt. It's not something that I have to remove from a stored place.
I understand that.
Okay.
And you take that off because it's protocol to turn on the tape recorder so that you can memorialize the stop. Is that right?
That's correct.
Where is it?
I have a copy of the tape right here.
I'd like to hear it.
Okay.
Bird.
It's difficult to hear, Your Honor, because of the background noise of traffic, but you absolutely will not hear foul language from either party on that tape.
What are you stopping me for? What's the speed limit? What's the speed limit? 35? 35 where? Unspeeded Boulevard, the Garden View. Are you serious? I'm very serious. Jesus Christ, I lived here for years. I never knew it. I thought it was 50. Are you serious? From where? Where is it 35? From where to where? Encinitas Boulevard to Garden View Road. Okay, which is Garden View? Just past. Oh. Are you serious? No, that street's been there for 35 years. No, I know, but I thought it was 50 the whole way down. Wow. I'll be damned. Well, let me start with your registration and insurance. How about that? I can't believe it. I'm flying to Zurich right now. I'm trying to get to the airport. How do you go to the airport without identification? Because I'm going home. The limo's picking me up. I see. There you go. Do you have your vehicle insurance with you? Nope. Right. That's the only one you have? No, I have one. Okay. Bring your insurance report with you. Anonymous guilty of the charge of being cited here for the speed violation. You have to appear in court for the charge of anonymous guilty of anything. Okay, your court date starts November 13th, 8 o'clock. Okay? You said I'm not admitting guilt. Well, your constitutional right does. Even if you agree to... What are you charging me for? Speed violation, the proof of insurance in the vehicle. Well, what is the speed violation? What do you mean, what is it? Well, what was I doing? Well, you're over speed limit. 48 miles an hour in 30 seconds. I mean, really, let me say something. You really have nothing better to do than stop me 15 miles an hour over the speed limit in this town? I mean, come on. Let me ask you a question. When should I start writing tickets? Well, let me say something to you. No, don't say anything else. Why not? I can say whatever I'd like. You sure can. Yeah. Why are you signing a ticket, though? You're going to sign the ticket and not delay me any longer. The ticket asked you nicely, and I did ask you nicely. No, there's no more we have to do. I'm standing out here. I don't care who the hell you are. Well, I did the last time. Let me tell you what happened the last time. I don't care what happened to the last time. I'm hanging out here with these cars going 45 miles an hour. Now, I want you to sign the ticket so I can terminate. You want to terminate the contract by signing the ticket here. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. You're right. I'm trying to talk to you now. I don't want to do it anymore. You know why? It's going downhill. You're getting the ticket. From what? You're getting the ticket whether you like it or not. I don't mind. Okay, I would like you to sign so I can go. Relax. You can voice your opinion in court. If you sign the ticket and you can relax on your trip to Switzerland or wherever else you You want to go sign in front of a magistrate, you can sign it. If not, you sign it right there. They can be taped later on. Right here on the side of the road is not the place to have debate with cars going behind me at 40 and 50 miles an hour. I'll tell you, this is not the end of it. Respect, you know what? Not the end of it. You won't be the first one. Oh, no, you don't know what happened last time I took an officer's report. Here's your copy. Hang on, don't go. I need your thumbprint in case since you don't have any driver's license. Would you put your right thumb on the pad right here, please, and just lightly touch the box? That's it. Good day. I got a problem. Drive safely.
You're way out of line, Mr. Courtney. Way out of line. Didn't you know he had a tape recorder going?
Yes, I did.
Well, if you knew he had a tape recorder going, sir, and I've just listened to the entire conversation that the two of you had, there is nothing that he did to you that was untoward that day.
Respectfully, you weren't there.
I don't care whether I was there or not. I heard you.
I was there. I saw his facial remarks, his hand on the gun, and furthermore, I have a witness here with me today who will testify that he physically assaulted her in a court hallway 3 months later.
Do you want to know something? I am not interested in your witness because that case, if it's a case at all, has absolutely nothing to do with this.
Yes, it does.
Because
we appeared in court on that
wrote
day.
this letter in which you allege, in this letter, which went to Internal Affairs, that he on no less than 3 occasions cursed you. He did not. That was clearly a lie. Now, maybe its intention was to get somebody's attention, but it was a lie because I've just listened to this entire conversation.
Your Honor, the validity of the authenticity of that tape has not been Proven.
To my satisfaction, Mr.
Not
Courtney.
to mine and not in a court of law.
Sir, you've subjected yourself to this jurisdiction. This isn't the first case that I've heard, Mr. Courtney. And this isn't the first tape that I've listened to.
Your Honor,
and
I
I'm
asked
telling
for
you
that information. It was not provided.
And I'm telling you that the only one who was giving a hard time that day was you. As a matter of fact, there is some indication on this tape that you threatened him.
Where
you
is that?
said to him something about the last cop who gave me a ticket. And he replied very quietly, I don't care about the last cop that gave you the ticket. Please just sign this ticket. And he didn't threaten to take you to magistrate's court, sir. He only said to you, you can either sign the ticket here, sir, or you can sign it in magistrate's court. Why don't you please sign it here? Then you can be on your way.
But I did sign it.
Mr. Courtney, you were vindictive. The complaint that you made against him was totally without merit, based upon that tape, which is what cleared him. Very smart of the police department to have you carry around these tapes, guys. I want to tell you something. It should have been done a long time ago. Now, I don't believe that Mr. Courtney knew that you had that tape, because if he did, I doubt very much whether he would have consented to appear here today. He did. You're suing him for $5,000. I take judicial notice of the fact that a complaint to Internal Affairs remains on your record, even if there is a finding at the end of an inquiry that there was no basis for the complaint. It does remain on your record. I am granting you your complaint in the amount of $5,000. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Case number 202 on the calendar in the matter of Longs versus Scroggins Body. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Ms. Longs, you were injured when a plate glass window was broken and shattered into your car, and you were severely injured, according to your complaint. You had glass all over you, as well as damage to the car, which was not a serious one, and your pet that was in the car was also severely cut. And it is your claim that the defendant's son is responsible for that, and you want him to pay your medical bills, pain and suffering, damage to the car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So why don't you tell me where this happened?
Okay, my husband, my younger brother, my dog and I were going to a local fast food restaurant, and we pulled up into the drive-thru and made our order. We pulled around to the window.
Who was driving?
I was driving. And to be honest about it, I didn't know at the time that it was a window. I didn't know if it was a gun. I didn't know at the time what it was.
Tell me what you felt.
Just a million needles just going into my whole body. I mean, it's an indescribable pain. It was just like really, really bad.
After you felt this pain, did you have a consciousness to look around and see what had happened?
When it happened, I had started screaming, and my foot had come off the brake, which had caused my car to roll forward. My husband threw the car up in the park and got out of the car and went into the building.
Is your husband here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Could you step up, please?
I looked down in my lap, and my whole lap was covered with glass that was about that thick. I was afraid to get out of the car because I was afraid from the way I was driving that it would go in between my legs and cut me worse than what it had.
What happened next?
I heard my husband yelling, and I went to get out of the car, and the glass started scraping the insides of my leg. And I went up to the window, and I started to the drive-thru window, and I started screaming for my husband to call an ambulance because there was blood.
You were bleeding?
Yes. And I was telling Isaiah to get out of the car, I wanted to see if he was okay. He was okay, he wasn't bleeding. At that time, my dog went like this and put his paws up on the side of my car. And when he did, Your Honor, my dog's paw was all but completely cut off.
Is he okay?
No.
Were they able to save his paw?
Yes. We couldn't let him, look at it or get anything on it. And they give him antibiotics.
But he's home with you?
No, ma'am.
Why?
My dog was so protective over me that he would not let nobody else come near me other than my husband. And my dog attacked a man at my husband's job. And so therefore, we either had to get rid of him or they had to put him to sleep.
So what did you do?
My mother-in-law has him. She has a bigger house than what we do, but he has to stay on a chain.
Okay. So what happened?
It was a little incident at work. It was over a female. Me and the guy got into it.
You and a co-worker got into an argument over a girl?
Yeah, he started.
And what happened when you got into the argument with the coworker?
Well, apparently our boss separated us. She told me to go home. I went home. I was kind of heated at the time, and I was telling my mom what was going on. So me and my mom went up there.
Okay. Now, so what did you tell your mom? That you got into an argument with this coworker? Was it over a girl that you knew?
Basically, yes, ma'am. It was his girlfriend.
It was his girlfriend. Had you made advances to this girl, or did he think you had made advances to this girl?
Yes, ma'am.
And what had he said to you during the course of this original argument, before you went home to your mother?
Well, we go get into it, no.
No, I don't know. I don't know what means get into it. Tell me what he said to you, what you said to him.
He said he's gonna kick my, and I told him, man, it's whatever.
You told him whatever?
Yeah.
Now your boss sends you home.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he comes home and he talks to you.
Yes, ma'am.
What did he tell you?
He told me that him and this boy had an argument.
Did he tell you what it was about?
He said it was over some girl.
Did you ask him any specifics?
I asked him, what kind of argument that y'all was in. And he just said, Mama, it was over girl. He keep messing with me and stuff like that. I said, well, we'll go back to the restaurant. We're going to talk to the young man and the manager and you. We're going to get together to resolve this matter. When we get there, my son goes into the back.
Were you there?
Yes, ma'am, I was
there.
Were you?
No, just a second. Were you in the back with him?
I was in the back when they got to fighting, but when he went back there, no, ma'am.
When you went to the back of the restaurant, your mother was in the front of the restaurant. Who did you see in the back of the restaurant?
I seen him. And
the boy?
Yeah.
And? Did you say anything to him?
No, I did.
Did he say anything to you?
He said, what's up now? And I just walked right past him. And I laughed at him like, man, whatever.
You walked past him, you laughed at him, and then where did you go from there?
I went to go to the manager.
Did you get to the manager?
No, because by the time I got to the fry, he had hit me from behind. And he pushed me, tried to run me through the glass, and I caught myself.
Yes?
So I'm still facing him. By the time I brought myself back out, I didn't know she was there.
So far, you didn't break the window?
Yes, I did. My back went through the window.
How could you be face to face, sir, if he pushed you from behind?
See, just...
So he hit you from behind, but you didn't go into the window.
No, he hit me, and then when I turned around, he rushed me. He ran me into the window.
Uh-huh.
When he did that, I had, got me a little brace, and my back went through the window, but I came back out the window.
Okay. Now, Miss Scroggins.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to the workplace with your son to have a discussion with a manager.
Yes, ma'am.
So, tell me why you didn't say to your son, you stay out here, I'm going to speak to the manager.
Before I can tell him that, he had already went to the back.
How did you get to the store?
I don't live too far from there.
Did you walk or drive?
Walk.
Shh.
I drove.
Well, you drove, but your son walked. Did he walk behind the car or next to the car? How did that work? He said he walked. You said you drove. So did he jog along aside the car?
No, he was in the car with me.
All right. Did you discuss with your son how you were going to handle this situation?
Yes, I did.
And what did you tell him?
I told him we was going to talk to the manager to resolve this problem because he has to have a job. That's exactly what I told him.
Fine. Did you tell him we're going to go in together and speak to the manager?
We went in together.
But then he left you.
I was standing at the counter.
Yeah?
He went behind to where the manager and stuff.
No, he went behind where the boy was.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shirley Long says she was in a fast food drive-thru when worker Paul Body broke the restaurant's window during a fight. Shirley says the shattered glass injured her and her dog.
Where's the other boy?
He is currently in jail.
For what?
I have no idea. I had to put cases against both of them, and the one was never signed because he is currently in Montgomery County Jail.
Okay. Can I see your bills, please? You still have any embedded glass in your body?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where?
I have it coming out of my left ear. It's in my head still.
You have any photographs?
It had went down into my breast, Your Honor, and it had went up underneath of them.
Okay. I don't have to see any more bills.
Okay.
Miss Scroggins.
Yes, ma'am.
You handled this matter all wrong. If your son comes home and says to you he's having some trouble with a guy where he's working, and the trouble started because of him, and if you want to resolve the situation, then you pick up the phone and you call the restaurant, you get the manager on the phone, and you say, we'd like to come over and have a discussion, all of us. I would like to be able to resolve this matter because my son really needs the job. And if at all possible, maybe we can resolve this dispute between the two boys. Does that sound intelligent?
Yes, ma'am.
Instead, right after the argument, when he was hot, because according to him, he was hot, he was angry, right? When he came home?
Yes, ma'am.
He was angry. You put him in the car and you drive over there because the situation was bad enough for the manager to send him home because he was the wise guy. And instead of saying to your son, you sit out here in one of these little tables, I'm going to find the manager, you let him go in the back where you knew the other guy was. Then the other fellow said to him, what are you doing here? He laughs at him, because that's what he just said. He laughed at him and he said to him, whatever. That's what you just told me.
So, okay, if somebody say they go kick my, then what I'm supposed to do?
Get another job. Go to another restaurant.
No, I got
It's not the
rights to
only
laugh.
fast food restaurant in town. And you don't mess around with somebody else's
Who
girlfriend.
said anything about me messing around? I said, I know her. There's a difference from knowing and messing.
Then what you do is you sit down calmly in your mother's kitchen and say, maybe we can resolve this because I didn't do anything wrong. Let's call my boss and go over there sometime after work when nobody else is around, and maybe the boss will die and this other guy will sit down and I'll tell him it's all a misunderstanding. I didn't do anything with your girlfriend. So, is it both of their faults?
I think it is.
Sure, but the other guy's in jail, so he has to pay the whole thing. Because but for the fact that you drove him over there when he was hot and angry, and he went back there and tormented him a little bit, laughed at him. She got hurt. She's suing you for $3,000. It's nothing. She still got glass in her head. It's probably what you have up here. Solid glass. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I didn't like the way that the guy had come out here and tried to fight with my husband after the court was over.
For him to come out and act like he did, I mean, he's just a kid.
It would have been different if it would have happened to him. If the glass would have gotten embedded into his back, he surely wouldn't have probably been out here threatening my husband if he would have felt what I was feeling.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Hardesty, step forward, please.
19-year-old entertainment agent Jessica Miller and her husband, Howard Miller, are suing Jessica's cousin, 18-year-old carpet installer Stephen Hardesty, for breaking a lease. Stephen says Howard has a problem controlling his anger.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, the defendant is your cousin. Whose cousin is he?
Mine.
According to your complaint, he signed a lease with you to live in some sort of property that you had for a year. He lived there for a couple of months. You claim he owes you for 10 months' rent because he left voluntarily.
Right.
And the defendant says that he was forced to move out by your husband, and therefore he owes you nothing. What kind of property did he rent from you?
My husband and I have a townhouse that we rent. When we signed the lease, he also signed the lease with us. We don't own it. We rent it from somebody else.
Your husband and you signed the lease when?
June 1st of 2001.
When did the defendant sign the lease?
Same date.
So what happened?
We had a few rules in the house. Before everybody moved in, we agreed on a few rules, being no drugs at all. It had to be quiet at night. You had to clean up after yourself. Just basic house rules. For the 6 weeks he lived with us, we had fights every other day about house rules not being cleaned up and stuff like that. One afternoon, his girlfriend at the time had said something to my husband about me, and when I got home that night, he said, don't talk to him, we're gonna have a house meeting when we get home.
Was his girlfriend living there?
She was, but she wasn't supposed to be. The deal with that was they have a child together. She was supposed to stay weekends so he can see the baby, and she could come over so he could see the baby.
Whose rule was that?
It was just an agreement we had until they got married, because she couldn't go on our lease until they were married.
Why not?
Because she's underage. She's only 16.
Shh. Okay, go ahead.
So she had an altercation with her parents to where she had to stay at the house. That was fine because the baby was there and there wasn't a whole lot of problems. But things just started getting out of hand. She wasn't working and neither was I. So we were supposed to take care of the house. And it seemed like it was me always scrubbing the bathrooms and cleaning the kitchens and doing everything. There was a lot of fighting going on. And
One night in particular, they had some people over and they had a food fight. There was chocolate cake smeared into my living room carpet. I had an ornament that was precious to me broken. So I told him about it because I was very upset, and he was going to talk to them when they came in. And things got out of hand with them, and he said, look, Sarah's got to go. She's not on the lease. She's not even old enough to live here. She's got to leave. So that started a huge fight. And one thing led to another, and Steve said, well, she has to go, I'm going too. So he left, and he came back about an hour later with a cop to get a few things out of the house, and we hadn't seen him since.
What have you done to try to rent that other?
We can't rent it because his stuff is still there.
What's there?
His bed, their clothes, other personal things of his, paperwork they left there, boxes of other
What's
things.
all your stuff doing there?
I wasn't able to get a hold of them to go get
Well,
it.
the house hasn't moved. You take a police officer and you go over there with a truck and you get your stuff.
That is not why I had the police over there.
I don't care why you had the police over there. Okay. I'm going to assume as follows, that they told your girlfriend to leave, and you said, if she and the baby go, I'm going too, and I consider that an eviction of you. Do you understand?
Ma'am, at that time, the baby wasn't living there. Her mother had taken the baby.
Yes, because of all the yelling and screaming that her husband did. Whenever my daughter would see him, she
You understood
would
that
cry.
if you said Sarah's going, that he was going to go too.
No, because they had fought and she had left 3 or 4 times.
When did you physically leave the premises, sir?
July 19th.
Did you pay July's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he pay July's
Yes.
rent? What was your share of the rent?
$375.
So August, September, and October, so far you didn't pay,
No, ma'am.
right? It's not a very difficult case. If you tell the girlfriend to leave, he's going to leave. You told the girlfriend to leave?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Mr. Hardesty, he says that he just told your girlfriend to leave. Did he tell you to leave too?
Not exactly, but once I told him that if she was leaving, I was leaving too, he said, fine, get your stuff and get out. And then he calls my wife a derogatory name.
When did you get married?
July 20th.
So
And-
did this all happen the day before the wedding?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And then after he made the derogatory comment, I told him to shut up, that I was not talking to him. And then I heard my wife get out of the car and say something, so I looked over, and then when I went to look back, he punched me in the side of the face.
Ma'am,
and then
that's
I
not
left.
how that happened
No,
at
ma'am.
all. What had happened was, our stairwell comes into our living room. He and I were standing on the stairwell, and he was standing in front of it.
No.
Sarah had said many, many comments that night about me being a fat, lazy, because I did not work. I stayed home to take care of our home. There were a lot of derogatory comments that every single person here said something. What had happened when he said she has got to go? Stephen said, well, she is not leaving without me. So he said, fine, I'm leaving. He went downstairs, and as he said, I followed him down. I said, look, this is not the way I want things to end. And we pretty much agreed that it had to end that way. There was no other way. So he walked out to his car to see what she was doing. When he came back up, he came at my husband. And my husband just held his arms
Yeah.
out to push him. So the step under our house, he just didn't make it up the step. And then when he got back up, he came at my husband, and my husband swung
Yeah,
at him.
his arms were out like that, so I thought he was trying to tackle me.
No, ma'am.
So I swung at him.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, since you have been required to pay the full rent for the months that he has things there which do not enable you to rent that part of your house to somebody else, you have to be compensated for that. You have to do, however, whatever you can to find someone else. But if you're going to rent the house to somebody else, you have to start looking. You can't start looking until he gets his stuff out. So this is what you're going to do. You are going to get all of his stuff. 5 days from today, all of your stuff is going to be out in the street. Do you understand?
Yes.
They are going to call Salvation Army or whatever else and have Salvation Army come the next day. So you have 1 day to get your stuff. Other than that, it's gone. Clothes, pictures, valuables, bed, dresser, anything else that's there. You got 1 day to get it.
Why should I only have 1 day when
Because
they
that's
told me
what
to
I'm
get
giving
out?
you. 1 day, unless you pay rent, which you haven't done. Do we understand each other? I'm going to reduce
no.
this to an order so that you can read it over and over again and understand it.
But what if all of my stuff is not out?
Sir, they don't want your stuff, and it's been 4 months already, and you haven't gone back for it, so I assume you're not missing it. Okay, so then you have a month to find somebody else, because I am awarding you 4 months' rent, or $1,500. Sir, you got a very narrow window to get your stuff out. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Morrison versus McKinney. Step forward, please.
31-year-old office manager Carla Morrison is suing her former friend, 27-year-old retail salesperson Corey McKinney, for an unpaid cell phone bill. Corey has a countersuit claiming Carla vandalized his car.
Miss Morrison, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends, and there came a time when each of you wanted a cell phone. I know what happened with an uncle of yours. He agreed to get the cell phones for you, but the defendant's agreement with you was that he would pay his portion of the cell phone bill.
That is correct.
You claim that he ran up a substantial bill on the cell phone, which he has not paid.
That is correct.
Now, the defendant, I read your answer, sir. You don't seem to dispute the fact that you ran up a substantial phone bill.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how much was the phone bill that he ran up?
His cost came up to $1,000.
Can I see that, please? Or total?
We initially got our phones in January. I believe I had Corey's phone disconnected towards the end of April, the beginning of May.
4 months.
Right, but his calls ran into like June and July.
Okay, so the bills are really in his name. This says total Nextel charges for Corey, right? On the bill it says for
I
Corey.
never seen the bill.
Well, we'll show it to you. Actually, it's $1,007.37.
Correct.
Because you had a phone that allowed you to make as many local calls as you wanted, but not long-distance calls?
Right. Corey's charges are more long distance than anything.
Corey, who do you talk to so much, sir?
I talk to people everywhere.
Where are most of your friends?
I was out of town then. I was out of town then.
You were out of town?
Yeah. And I was calling back.
Your defense to this action is that you did spend the money on jabbering away long distance, but that the plaintiff did damage to your car.
Yeah.
And the damage to your car is more than your long distance calls, right? That's your defense.
Yes.
So, show me. What kind of damage did she do to your car?
Cut my tires and put sugar in my tank.
Did you witness her doing that?
No,
Remember, look
but
at me.
my witness, I have a witness here.
So the answer is you did not witness her
No.
doing that. But you have a witness who I'm
Yes.
prepared to hear. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
Anthony McKinney.
Are you related?
Yeah, I'm his brother.
Now tell me what you observed on May 7th.
I was coming home from out playing basketball, and I seen her truck over there at the house when I was walking in the house. I really didn't see her really do it, but next morning I got up and he was outside going crazy. I was like, went over to see what was wrong. He said somebody had put sugar in my tank and cut the tires. I said, well, last night when I was coming home, I seen her over there and left the house. But I really didn't pay any attention to it because they were seeing each other off and on at the time, considering the phone bills and everything. So I
Sir,
really,
did you see her on May 7th?
I seen her the day before.
On May 6th?
May 7th. That day.
Where did you see her?
He came over to the house.
To visit with you?
Yes. He said he seen her that night.
Sit down. Sit down, sir. Well, tell me about the conversation that you had with her on May 7th.
She saw about the phone bill.
And what did you say to her about the
I
phone
told her I
bill?
wasn't going to pay the bill.
Did you tell her why?
But she had the phone turned off. I didn't even use it.
Well, she
I
had
never
the
did
phone-
see the bill. She never showed me the bill.
Now I'll hear you. You went over to his house on May the 7th?
I don't recall. I have talked to Corey numerous times on the phone, over our two-way radio pertaining to the bill. Corey has seen our Nextel bills. He left to go out of town. His thing was, I'll take care of it when I come back from Texas. Don't worry about it. Don't trip, Carla. You know, I'm not going to leave you out there like that. I'm going to pay the bill. I don't recall being at Corey's house on May 7th. It's a possibility, because I was at Corey's house plenty of times.
Did you slash his tires?
Of course not.
Did you put sugar in his gas tank?
Of course not. And me and Corey talked about this. He brought the damages up that I did to his car, and when I called him and asked him when was he going to pay his bill, and he said, I'm not. You had my phone shut off. I said, well, yeah, Corey, because the bill is at $1,300. He even called me when he was in Texas to say that I slashed his girlfriend's tires on her car as well. It's like,
You know, Corey, I don't have time for this. I'm working 2 jobs. I don't have time to drive around town to look and vandalize Corey's vehicle.
Now, these phones, the bills were actually in your uncle's name?
The bill is in my uncle's name, but we are the sole responsible party.
I understand that, but the bills are in your uncle's name. If they were to sue somebody, they were going to sue your uncle.
Right.
Right? And your uncle knew that he was behind in the bills.
Right. He knew that he wasn't paying them.
But he wasn't paying them.
So where's our
There
uncle?
were other people, sir, who had a motive to do nasties to your car, right?
Yes, correct.
Those are only people that I know. Anybody else not like you, sir?
No.
You sure about that? Okay. You have
Where's our uncle at?
You have it, what?
Where's our uncle at? Shouldn't he be here?
No, why?
He signed for the phones.
So what? She's responsible because she promised her uncle that, despite the fact that the uncle signed for the phones, the 2 of you were going to be responsible. Duh. You still have the same girlfriend that you had in May?
No.
When did you break up with the May girlfriend?
In June.
In June? Well, June's pretty close to May. Had you been fighting with your girlfriend?
No.
You mean it just came on all of a sudden that you broke up with her?
Yeah. This
There
happened
may
in-
be somebody else that didn't like you.
It happened in May.
And when were her
We was
tires?
we was on good terms then.
You were on really good terms.
Good terms.
Oh, good terms. Well, Mr. McKinney, we may never find out who put sugar in your tank, sir. But we sure know who made all these phone calls. That was you. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount requested, $1,007.37. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties on Punterero versus Peach. Step forward, please.
22-year-old student Corinne Punterero is suing her ex-roommate, 22-year-old student Rebecca Peach, for breaking a lease. Rebecca says she moved out because she needed gallbladder surgery.
Ms. Pontuero, according to your complaint, you and the defendant know each other from college, and you had decided to room together for this coming year.
Yes.
When did you sign the lease?
Last year.
What month?
I believe it was in April.
And at some time, about a month later, the defendant decided that she did not want to live with you, and you've had to move into this rental by yourself. You want her to pay her share of the year's rent.
Yes, it's a 3-bedroom apartment. There's me and one other housemate. And with her not living there, we're responsible for her rent. Our landlord is now taking us to court for her part of the rent. In the lease, it says that no matter what, you're jointly and severely responsible for fulfillment of the lease.
Severally, not severely, severally. Let me have the lease, please.
I have this from both years.
Okay. When did you change your mind?
I actually have an email I have written to Corinne. It's dated June 12th. That states that I won't
It's
be
dated
coming
what?
back. June 12th.
Okay, you changed your mind June 12th.
It wasn't so much changing my mind. I was very ill. Corinne and I were disagreeing. It was not a very good living environment for myself. And I have doctors, notes, everything. It was impossible for me to come back to school.
So then, what did you do to try to get a new roommate?
With me being sick, it was hard.
What were you sick with?
I had my gallbladder taken out 2 years ago. I vomit a lot. I throw up a lot. That's why I had written her the email to let her know that I won't be back, that I'm going to need help with this.
Let me see the email.
I have it highlighted of where I said I wasn't going to be back.
You were all supposed to move in on the end of August. Is that right?
Yeah.
And according to this lease, the landlord wanted payments for the rent in 2 parts, $4,000 in the beginning of one semester, and then in the spring semester, another $4,000. The spring semester doesn't start until when? February, March?
January.
January. And what you're suing her for is really 1/3 of the entire lease. Is that right?
Yes.
I don't know about this vacuum cleaner and television set.
Your Honor, I also have an email dated June 12th also. She never said anything about being sick. She never gave me that reason. We were fighting. I didn't feel the reason. I need to explain myself.
Well, it's a rather nasty email, and it seems to me a lot of other things going on other than just your former gallbladder condition, Ms. Peach. You had an obligation to try to locate a 3rd roommate to take over your obligation under the lease.
I understand that.
You have an obligation to what they call ameliorate your damages, which means you too have to make an effort to locate a third roommate.
We posted these all around campus, and usually when everybody looks for an apartment, you sign a lease well ahead of time. Right now, everybody in school already has signed leases for their living arrangements next year. So finding a roommate now is next to impossible because everybody already has their apartments.
Well, at this point, yes, but probably not in June, and certainly not for the spring semester.
Well, we've been looking. We found
because
somebody...
situations change, so there is no way that I'm going to grant you an award for the entire amount of the rent that's due and owing, because the spring semester is a whole different scenario. Having had kids in school, I know that after a few months in college, situations change. And kids say, I don't like living with you, and I don't like living with you. I'm going to look for a new roommate. You make new friends, so you can find yourself in a position of filling up that third bedroom, which I'm sure you use now occasionally anyway. You have visitors come up and they use that room?
Actually, it's pretty empty.
That's not what I asked you. I said, do you sometimes have visitors, friends come up and use that room? Parents, anybody
Not that
else?
room, no.
They don't use that room. It just stands as a shrine to the defendant. What's next?
If I may interject for a second.
Sure.
The TV we had bought together, I had left her half the money for it when I moved out in the summertime. And the vacuum cleaner, I don't remember us having one second semester because our first semester housemate took it with her. We didn't have a vacuum the second semester.
Well, that's what some of the other things she's suing for, a vacuum cleaner and a television set.
I had gotten a phone call from the Fredonia Police Department about me stealing a television and a vacuum cleaner. Now, when I went up to school, I made sure nobody was there. I took all of my stuff out, left her half the money for the TV we bought together, which was $60.
And did you take the TV?
And I took the TV with me. And I did not take the vacuum. I'm living at home. I don't need the vacuum cleaner.
At the time, I didn't know she had left the money because my other housemate had set it aside for me, but she wasn't home. So I went to the police department and I filled out this report, and I find it hard to believe that the TV and all her stuff would be gone, along with the vacuum cleaner.
Well, she says she took the TV, but she left you money, which you acknowledge because your roommate had the money.
Yeah, she
and
took
just
the money.
didn't tell you, so you included the TV in the police report that you filed against her, and the TV should not have been included in that police report.
Well, she says that we bought the TV together, and we did not. I bought it on my credit card, and I have the receipt here if you want.
We split that.
Well, it's very possible you put it on your... I'm not going to get involved with $60 for a television
That's fine,
set.
too, but I did not take a vacuum cleaner.
There's no proof that you took the vacuum cleaner. What's next?
Well, I have all the copies of the bills from last semester. That some of them we still owe, some of them are in her name, some of them are in mine.
I just got a $617 phone bill in my name, which I don't know why it's still in my name, but I just received this phone bill from the phone company.
Let me see. Why don't you, Bert, instead of my looking at them, why don't you have them exchange these bills and look at them?
Your Honor, I acknowledge these bills.
Good.
What I want to say is that I never received them to pay them.
Okay, so there are $624.17 in bills that she says that you owe from last semester, and you got a phone bill for $600.
And $17, yes.
Right?
Actually, all these numbers are her numbers. They're all in Long Island. They're all West Palm Beach.
There's Buffalo and there, Williamsville from her town. So
well, I will be glad to go through them and find out which ones are mine, but the vast majority of them are from hers.
Let me see. You expect me to go through all these charges?
No.
Good. Then step outside. Call you back in 5 minutes. Here, Bird, send them outside, please. Thank you. Okay, so who was Talkie Sally?
Well, I went over the long-distance bills, highlighted what I owe, everything from the Buffalo and Buffalo area, and I owe $9.30.
Is that right?
I guess so. I didn't really look at it.
What do you mean?
She had
you
it.
really
She had the
look?
calculator.
All right, so let me see the entire phone bill, please. All right, Miss Peach.
Yes.
So from your phone bill of $617, the plaintiff owes you $9.30.
That's fine.
So it's a good lesson. Miss Peach, your lesson is as follows. How old are you?
22.
If you're 22, you're an adult. When you're an adult, you enter into a contract you are obligated to fulfill your contract. You're no longer a kid. But you have an obligation, too, to reduce your damages. You can't sit there with a 3-bedroom apartment and say, well, now I have a bedroom for myself, a bedroom for my roommate, and I got a whole area for storage. Don't play with paper when I'm talking to you. It's rude. So, I believe that you are entitled to this semester's portion of her rent for the fall semester, because I agree with you that it could have been difficult in June to try to find a new roommate. That doesn't mean that I believe that you can't find somebody else for the spring semester. Now, that doesn't mean that you necessarily don't have a cause of action against her if, in the spring semester, after a good faith effort to locate another roommate, you're not able to locate another roommate. This award will cover this semester's rent, clear, plus your utility bills from last year. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,948. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Okay. Your Honor, this case is number 385 and 386 on the calendar in the matter of Norris, La Lumiere versus Rapporteur.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Norris, this is your mother.
It is.
This is your boyfriend.
Yes.
You claim that your mother owes you for rent during the time she lived with you.
Yes.
When did your mother come to live with you?
Sometime early mid-November. I'm
The
sorry.
questions are going to get harder.
I'm just nervous. I'm just nervous. Around mid-November last year of 2000.
And under what circumstances did she come to live with you?
Shortly before, less than 2 weeks, she'd been evicted from yet another apartment, and she called me very upset because she was stranded with no place to go. So, again, I let her live with me.
And she had stayed with you before, I assume?
Yes, several times before. I've helped her.
What was the financial arrangement, if there was one?
That she would agree to pay $50 a week if she was responsible for her other expenses, her personal things, doing her own laundry. I have washer dryer. If she was going to take care of all that out of the house, then it would only be $50. I have 3 floors in my apartment. The 3rd floor, she had all of that for her. There was two rooms with full closets. She had, you know, a good amount of space.
And your mother agreed to pay you $50 a week?
Yes, at least.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you say that she did not pay you the $50 a week?
No, she was with us for around 10 months. During that time, we got at most $200 in total from my mother. Not only, that's not just cash, we got one payment in the form of a scratch ticket that she had won. And after a period of time, she just said right out that she wouldn't leave and she wasn't going to give us any money anymore either.
All right, let me hear you.
I moved in there on the 28th of October. We agreed on $50 a week. Mr. LaLumia told me at that time $50 a week would only allow me a room or the rooms. I wasn't allowed to use the phone, watch television, or eat any of the food in the house. I'm a tea drinker. I bought my own tea, sugar, and milk. I ate at the local pizza parlors and the little variety store at a cost of $80 to $90 a week to myself. I bought my own cigarettes and liquids outside of my tea, and they never bought any of my necessaries, and I wanted nothing of them, Judge Judy, at all.
I'm asking you about the $50 a week you're
I
supposed to pay.
paid them. I have, where I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, and I was on unemployment when I moved in, I didn't ask Sherry for receipts, or I didn't give a receipt because she's my daughter. I have accounted for financially $1,150 that I did at different points give her altogether.
The only she paid was a $50 money order
And I do have
and
receipts from the
a
landlord.
scratch ticket and the 3 receipts from the landlord. That is the only money that Miss Rabitor has ever given us in the time she has lived with us. She has been supplied with food. She has snuck down in the middle of the night, taken food up to her rooms. She has ravaged the house.
Judge Judy, I lived with my daughter and Mr. LaLumia for 10 months. Not once in the 10-month time did Sherry or Jim ever speak to me.
So why didn't you leave?
I tried to get jobs while I lived there. My daughter blackballed me out of jobs. People would call there, and Sherry would say nasty, dirty things about me to companies or places that I was trying to get employment. So I wasn't really working other than a $6 under-the-table job at 15 hours a week.
Did you live with your mother until you were how old?
15, I left home.
You were 15?
I was 15 when I left home because I had abusive parents. At 17 was the first time my mother stayed with me because she had been evicted at that time. She stayed with me for a short period of time when I was just a teenager. For all of these years, I have helped her. This is the third time she's lived with me, at least. And every time it ends terribly.
Well, tell me how it
makes
ended.
me hesitant to help her any further, but I do, because she's my mother. I do. She's whispering things over here, being taunting.
Shh! Don't speak. How old are your children?
12 and 13.
And they live with you as well?
Yes.
Does your mother have, to the best of your knowledge, any particular problem that causes this eviction from one apartment to another apartment? Has she ever had any psychiatric treatment?
It's not just apartments that she continuously gets evicted from. She can't keep jobs either.
I'm asking you about any psychiatric disability.
Yes, when we were children, my brother and sister and I, when she was with her first husband, she was getting psychiatric treatment at the time. I was young. I didn't pay much attention. My brother actually had brought it to my attention recently. He reminded me of that. And at some point after she and my father split up, she and her first husband, he was not my biological father, she stopped getting any sort of, I don't know if
Any
she's
help?
on medication. She never has continued counseling or medications. And yes, I know that is greatly to do with why she can't hold jobs and she can't keep apartments, because she can't maintain relationships of any kind. I am her oldest child. She was a teenage mother when she had me. The last words my mother has spoken to me since she left my apartment was that she's regretted this since the day that I was born. And I am the only person that has helped her since I was 17 years old. She's from a family of 10. She has 9 brothers and sisters, and they won't help her. I have a younger brother and a younger sister. They won't help her. I have helped her over and over again since I was a teenager myself.
So,
and this is what happened.
Miss Norris, let me ask you this question. I know you're upset.
Because it's my mother.
I gotcha.
She's supposed to be the mother, not me.
You know, sometimes roles change when you don't want them to.
But when it's hurtful over and over again, that doesn't bother me, taking care of her and help her. I knew she needed it, and I didn't have a problem doing it repeatedly. The only reason that she was even in the home is because she's my mother. I mean, Jim didn't know her anything. I didn't really either, but nobody
What
else would
happened,
help
Miss
her.
Norris? Listen, let you compose yourself for a minute.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sherry Norris says her mother, Paula Rabator, owes for unpaid rent and living expenses. Sherry says she's been burned before by her mother.
Miss Norris, after 10 months, your mother left your house. Had you had a fight?
There had been a fight, well, not a fight. Oh, yeah, it was. Actually, it started over money. When she first came, she had no job. She'd just been fired from a job. Animosity was created when she was asked when she was going to start paying. She said she wanted to take time off, and it was just before the holidays last year. She had just gotten fired. She'd just gotten evicted. She said she needed time to recover. And with the holidays, I thought, okay, you know, it's not a problem. It'd be hard to find employment anyway right now. So that was not a problem. And then she did get a job while she was collecting unemployment from another state. That's another character point of hers, using different names.
Tell me what happened at the end, Miss Norris.
Okay, lots of stuff happened in between. She was a terrible example for my kids, my daughters. The things that she says and the way that she talks, my kids were just, their chins hitting the floor with the vulgar language that she uses, not just profanity, just very sexually oriented things and just other totally bizarre things that she did. She had a small bird. She believed one of my children was responsible for killing it. So she nailed the dead little bird to her bedroom door with a note telling my daughters to stay out. That's how she is. And my children even think they said when they left the room, the bird was fine. They believe she did it herself. This is where her mental illness comes in.
You did it, made your kids think it was me.
This is where her mental illness comes in.
But I would My birds, Judy.
She threw them out the window, all of them having been pets caged for 5 years. They can't fly. And she threw them out the window the day she was leaving. That's how much she loved her birds. I thought she loved them too. But when she did it, she made sure she came downstairs to tell me she had just thrown her birds out the window. 3 of them I never saw again. 1 of them hit the ground because she was so weak. I still have her. It was my neighbor that, this is her act.
Just a second.
Please,
Question,
understand
Ms.
that.
Norris.
Ms.
Ms. Norris.
I know, I'm missing the point. This is getting distracting.
Okay, it's getting distracting. But let's get back to
anyway,
it.
so the point, that the time that I needed to ask her to leave, she was not paying any money. I forgot exactly what happened, but I said, that's it. Jim asked her for me because I had a hard time with this because of the whole situation.
All right, so it got difficult.
It got very difficult. She came to me, Jim had gone to her work one day and said, you need to leave. And she came home that Saturday from work and said, you know, well, she didn't listen to anything he said. She just thought he was the biggest jerk in the world. So she came to me and she says, I never talked to her. She asked me, is it true? Do I need to leave? I said, yes. She said, why? I said, because, Ma, you've been here for nearly a year. You have accomplished nothing. So I just said, it's just not working. It's just not doing any good, Ma. I think you could stay here for another 5 years, and it would still be the same. You'd still be right where you are, not a dime in your pocket, nothing, and no job. So enough is enough. That's it. I said my children are leaving the long Labor Day weekend with their father. I didn't want them there when she was moving because I knew she would cause a scene. So I said that I would give her that 4-day weekend with my car to remove herself and her belongings. Well, that Saturday, she came back to me crying, saying, I need help, I know I need help, I've needed help for a long time, and that's what I spent all week doing. I wasn't at a job interview the other day, I was at the emergency room at the hospital because I know I need help, and can't you just let me have the time to get help, Sherry? And so I said, fine. And then I talked to Jim and I said, well, my mother's not moving out this weekend.
Ultimately, she moved out when?
The following week, even.
Okay.
She even had more time, and the day that she moved out, it was because we got legal papers in the mail. We received notices in the mail that she was taking us to court. Said, forget it. Forget it. Why are you doing this?
Why was she taking you to court?
It was a charge.
Threat to commit a crime. The threat was taking legal action to have her evicted from the apartment.
If that was necessary, because she said, I'm not leaving. I don't care what you say. He said, if I have to take you to court,
So she filed a complaint of threat against you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you told her, you managed to find your way to the courthouse, now you can find yourself a new apartment.
That is correct.
Well, okay. He came home from work, and I actually, over the weekend, I said, my mother talked to me. I'm going to let her stay, because ultimately, for me, I have been dealing with this sort of thing for my children are petrified of her. Nobody will do it.
Okay, all right, stop.
I know you want a
Ultimately,
cathartic
if my
event.
mother can be normal one day, that's all I've wanted half my life, and if we have to bite our tongues and deal with it a little more, for her to get help, fine.
May never happen.
I stand there, I can't even believe it. I can't
May
even
never happen.
believe it.
All right, Ms.
I don't
Rapator,
think so.
listen to me. You left your daughter's house.
Oh, could I?
Just a minute. Your claim is that she either kept or destroyed some of your property.
Yes, it is.
Before we get to your claim, I want to know why you filed a complaint against your daughter's boyfriend.
Mr. Leloup, Sherry, like I said, Sherry doesn't talk to me and hasn't talked to me for quite a while.
Just tell me what caused you to file the complaint against him.
He was threatening me.
What did he say?
He just kept threatening me to not touch anything, get out of the house, we don't want you here, leave this house, don't eat, don't watch TV, don't do anything, get out, get out, get out. So to me that was threatening because of circumstances.
Because of circumstances? Well, it's not legally threatening.
But then I accused...
It's not legally threatening.
No, it wasn't legally threatening.
So then what did you go to the courts for?
It would have become threatening, Judge Judy, at a point.
No.
Yes,
You don't go to the court. Listen, you don't go to a court if you think it might become, in some later date, threatening.
And Judge...
What?
I've already been in front of a judge 4 different times for this very same issue.
What issue?
Her belongings.
Her counterclaim.
Her counterclaim?
Yes.
And what happened with those cases?
Well, I first received a call from the clerk asking
just a minute.
me...
Do you have...
Yeah,
we have legal documents.
We have
I want to see
supporting
the order.
papers of all of this.
Can I see it, please?
And
Were you at any time ordered to return any of her property?
Yes, and I did.
Just a minute.
And
have
she
you
did
been
not
to court, Ms. Rapator,
take a thing
on the same issue as your counterclaim, the property?
Yes.
Then you had your day in court. I don't deal with that.
Your Honor, the judge wouldn't hear it. Sherry said that everything was her belongings, and he wouldn't hear it.
It wasn't supposed to be a housing court issue, and they told her that. But because it was presented in front of the housing court judge, he dealt with it.
And what was the order? Do you have the order?
To return her belongings
Can
to
I see
her,
it,
or I
please?
would be thrown in jail in 7 days. My issue is that it isn't all hers. I'm not giving her my belongings.
I can understand why no judge's going to hear this.
I pointed out that a lot of it was
A
petty.
bread box, house plants.
Those were returned to me.
Good.
I have the items that weren't returned.
She states that there's a 6-foot buffet that was hers, and it was not hers. It was never hers. And I have a statement from my landlord, who is an antique collector, stating
Just
that...
one second.
For the
Just 1 second. Is the main thing you want this antique buffet?
No, Judy.
Well, what do you want?
I want to be able to get my belongings and go on with my life.
Listen to me.
I've worked
I'm
Judge Judy,
asking-
for 20 years for all of this.
Miss Rapporteur,
I bought everything.
Clay,
Calm down.
listen to me very carefully. You had access to the house, and some of the stuff you removed, and some of the stuff she sent
no, I
over.
didn't.
Shh, I'm speaking. Some of the stuff, according to your papers and hers, she sent over to your other daughter-in-laws. I'm going to give you an opportunity to present to me a receipt for this buffet.
It was from my mother-in-law, Judge Judy. She gave me the buffet and a hutch to match.
I don't know that.
No, and the landlord doesn't know that either.
Listen to me, Ms. Rapporteur. The burden is on you to prove to me that anything on your list is your property. And the way to do that is with receipts.
Judge Judy, she kept all of my legal papers and all my legal documents. She kept all my phone numbers, address books, and everything. I have no proof of anything because
Well, if you
Sherry
have-
has it.
If you have no proof, then I can't help you. Do you have, Ms. Norris, any documents in your house? I'm not talking about receipts or papers, but any documents in your house that your mother left there that you did not bring over to your sister-in-law's house?
Yes, I will give those back to her. Once all this court stuff is done,
No,
I will
want-
give them back
Listen,
to her.
listen to me. They're her documents. Anything that is her document is to be turned over to her within 5 days. And is there anything else? She said there was a computer. Did you return that to her?
Yes.
The computer was returned to you.
No hard drives or a power cord.
All right, good. That takes care of your counterclaim. Within 5 days, all of her papers, documents,
I have
etc. be
pictures of
returned.
the items
Be
that are on
returned to
that
her.
list.
Put it down.
Judge Judy?
This
What?
is my
For one-
Woonsocket
Put it down.
apartment, Judge Judy.
The apartment that she was evicted from in Woonsocket, that landlord
That has
kept
nothing to
most
do
of her belongings.
No, he didn't,
Well, that
Sherry.
may be the pictures.
Those belongings come to me as soon as I have a place to bring them to. And I can get my
Ms. Norris,
landlord to
listen
vow
to
to
me
that.
very carefully. Just taking care of the counterclaim.
Okay, but
I
we
want you
had-
to listen. Ms. Rapporteur, I honestly believe that you probably need some professional help. You are a grown woman, you are a mature woman, and clearly your life has been a series of ups and downs. Oh, she's leaving. Your mother is leaving. She probably could use a little bit of professional help. In any event, she was here, she subjected herself to the jurisdiction of the court. Your mother acknowledges, based upon her own figures, that she owes you at least $1,050. I don't believe she paid you
No, she did not.
$1,150, but you don't have records. She doesn't have records. So I'm awarding you on your claim $1,050 for back rent. As far as her counterclaim is concerned, it is absolutely impossible to determine who owns 3 baskets. So just make sure she gets all of her documents back, and that will be done within 5 days. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor's case number 393 on the calendar, the matter Levens versus Radigan. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Levens, you rented a room in the defendant's home, and it is your claim that she falsely accused you at some point of assault, resulting in your arrest. You had to retain an attorney. All the charges were subsequently dismissed, and you want the defendant to pay for all of your out-of-pocket expenses as a result of that arrest, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it is the defendant's position that you did, in fact, assault her, and that your lawsuit is frivolous, correct?
Yes.
When did you begin your tenancy with the defendant?
December 1st of 1999.
And when did the altercation happen that resulted in your leaving?
February 17th of 2000.
So you lived there a very short time, 2 months.
Yes, Your Honor.
Were there any other tenants in the house?
Yes, as a matter of fact, during the month of December, she went through about 3 in the other room, and then there was one that had been there the whole time in the dining room, which had been converted into a bedroom.
So how many tenants in total? December, January, and February?
There were 3.
And what was your rent?
Well, she lowered it a couple of different times. Started off wanted 500, ended up 400, then she lowered it down to 350 because she wanted me to. She didn't want me to move out. I gave her notice, and she said it was hard to find good roommates, and she kind of desperate. It almost seemed.
I gather from the complaint that Ms. Radigan, you were putting new carpet in or having the carpets cleaned in the house. What day was that?
That was February the 17th.
Tell me what happened on the 17th of February.
I was about 7:30 a.m. I was sleeping. I worked nights, and I'd probably been asleep for a couple hours. She came, knocked on the door, said, we're going to have the rooms cleaned today. Could she come in and move stuff out from the middle of the room? I said, okay. And she started to do that, and she said, you got to get up. And I said, well, my room really doesn't need it. I was kind of waking up, and I said, my room's fine. She said, no, we're doing the whole house. And I said, well, my room doesn't need it. And I was still kind of sleepy. And I said, well, do my room last. I said, it doesn't really need it. And she left. And then she came, a little time later, came barging in again and said, you're out of here. She said, that's it. You have to move out today. John and the boys are coming. They're moving you out. And all your stuff's going to be in the street. And, and she grabbed my chair and started moving my stuff out.
Moving what stuff out?
Well, the chair was what she was moving out.
She was taking the chair out.
Like to demonstrate she was going to take everything out, and by that day, all my stuff would be in the street, and I'm out of there.
That's not true.
Just a minute, I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond. What happened next?
I grabbed my cell phone, I went out to the driveway, and I called the police.
At any time, did you put your hands on the defendant?
No, Your Honor.
When she picked up your chair, did you put your hands on her to stop her?
No, she just kind of plowed right on out the front, out my bedroom door, out into the living room.
So you went outside and you called the police?
Yes.
Do you have a police report?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. Now, the police ultimately arrived, is that right?
Yes.
When they arrived, what happened?
I told them that she was threatening to move my stuff out into the street, and that I was out of there today, and she's got some guys coming over, they're going to move me out, and I was afraid to leave, and that I'd paid rent, and I told them then, I said, I'm going to move at the end of the month, though.
So what happened?
Then they went inside and talked to her. A few minutes later, then they came out and asked me if I had touched her. I said, no. She said, well, she's claiming assault. And they went back in, talked to the roommate. The roommate said he didn't see any.
Which roommate?
There's one that was right down the hall from me, straight across.
Don't tell me what the roommate said unless the roommate's here.
Okay. They said there was no assault, nothing happened. They said, leave. Told her to leave me alone, said, leave each other alone. He's leaving at the end of the month, and they left.
What happened next?
2 days later, I got at work, deputy sheriff came and had a restraining order, said I couldn't go home.
Now we'll hear you.
Okay, on February the 15th, I let Jimmy Lee know that I was going to be having the carpets cleaned. And he said, that's fine. And I told him, you'd have to have everything off the floor so that they can just come in and do the carpet. So the day after that, I reminded him that night before he went to work, they are coming, so, have your stuff up. And the next morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, the carpet people were going to be there at 8:30. I went in there, I knocked on his door, and I told him, the carpet people will be here in 30 minutes. And he just started cursing at me, telling me that he wasn't getting up and that his carpet is not going to get cleaned. So then what happened is I asked him, I said, this door is still shut. I asked him, is it okay? Can I just come in and pick the stuff off the floor? He said, fine. So I went in, I got the chair, desk chair, rolled it out into the hallway right there, already out of his room. He came back in back of me. I didn't even know he got up. He came back in the back of me. He pulled me around by my arm. He took me, violently shook me, and threw me onto the chair. And he proceeded to go ahead and do whatever, hit me or whatever. And my other roommate, his room was right there, and I called out to him, and he came and had to remove him off of me.
Is that person here?
No, ma'am.
Then the police arrived, and you told the police your story. Is that right?
Yes, I called the police.
Well, so did he.
Mm-hmm.
The police arrived, and each of you were told to leave each other alone, and he advised police, who in turn advised you, that he would be moving out at the end of the month. Is that right?
No.
They didn't tell you that he would be moving out at the end of the month?
No, he did not.
Did he tell you that he would be moving out at the end of the month?
No, he didn't.
He didn't. But you certainly wanted him out of the house.
Exactly.
He assaulted her.
Several days later, you went back to the police. Is that right?
Right.
And you went to the police and said, I want to file assault charges against him.
I filed a report.
You said, I want to file, I've read the report.
Okay,
You said,
yeah.
I want to file assault charges against him. Is that right?
Yes.
And you told the police another version of what happened. You said that the first officer had taken an incomplete version.
Correct.
And you were very careful this time to go over all of the details precisely. Is that correct?
Yes, I was
to make
very
sure
distraught.
that this officer got all of the facts straight.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And it was clear at that time, that several days later, that you wanted the plaintiff out of the house. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you make an attempt to go to housing court to have him evicted?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. You went to the police to get a restraining order to put him out of the house. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me tell you, Miss Radigan, the first officer that you spoke to reports no injury. Officer said that he spoke to a witness, this is in his police report, who did not see any physical interaction, but did hear arguing. You stated that the plaintiff grabbed her with both hands and pushed her out of the room.
No.
That, I'm telling you what the police officer stated in quotes that you told him. He grabbed you with both hands and pushed you out of his room. That's what you told.
Oh, I was very
She
distraught at
Hey,
the
listen,
time.
Miss Radigan. Distraught. Then, after a few days, when you realize that nothing's going to happen, you go back to the police and insist on filing another report of assault, the same assault that allegedly happened on the 17th. And let me tell you what you told the officer at that time. You say, grabbed her by both arms and pushed me down on the floor. Now, that was the time when you went to the police and you wanted to make very, very sure that you got it 100% right. Then you filed this case today in which you swore in your deposition, he came up behind me, grabbed my arm, and turned me around and shook me really hard. Then, in the story that you tell me now, 2 seconds ago, you say, he came up from behind, he grabbed you, and he threw you down in a chair.
No, I said he shook me.
Yo, you just told me he shook you and he threw you down in a chair.
Exactly. I mean,
the question that I have to resolve, Miss Radigan, is whether you abused the process of the courts and the justice system in an attempt to see to it that he was evicted from your house very quickly, because you probably, if you rent rooms, know how hard it is to get out a tenant, since he had paid his February rent. Even if you try to get him evicted sometime in the middle of February, he's not going to get out for months if he doesn't want to go. You wanted him out. You insisted upon filing assault charges against him. You were not injured in any way, and you abused process. Now, let me see the certificate of disposition with this assault case. I know what you did, and you know what you did. How much did you actually pay this attorney, sir?
$5,000.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Everything he said was a lie, every bit of it.
Sherry uses the judicial system to get her way.
The only way I could get him out was to get a protective order.
Sherry is a very controlling person, and when she doesn't get her way, she throws a fit in the one way that she knows, into claiming that she was hurt.
Yeah, this is case number 416 on the calendar in the matter of Houston versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Thank you, Bert.
You're quite welcome, Judge.
You're not involved with this case yet, perhaps as a witness. Is that right? Why don't you have a seat? Okay. And neither are you, so why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
Mr. Houston, the defendant was a friend of yours.
Yep.
You had been arrested for domestic violence, and according to your complaint, called the defendant and asked for his help. And according to you, you said to him, you can take my rifle and hold it as collateral for some money that I'm going to give you for being such a good friend.
Yep.
That's not true.
Just a second. Then you got out of jail, and he refuses to return the rifle to you, despite the fact that you offered them $100 for it.
Yep.
You want the rifle back.
Yes, ma'am.
Defendant says that the rifle was given to him as a gift.
That's right.
And in addition, he is counterclaiming for some nonsense about fluorescent light bulb.
He spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time.
Whatever. We'll get there.
And it's not nonsense, Your Honor.
Mr. Houston, when were you arrested, sir?
The first time I was arrested was August 4th, and that got dismissed and dropped to disturbing the peace.
Your Honor, he was arrested in
Later in September,
Don't interrupt.
my wife and I got in another fight. The neighbors called the police. When the police showed up, they got on the computer and saw that there was a no contact order, so they arrested me. When I saw the judge for arraignment, they immediately said 2.5 years in jail and a $50,000 bond, which basically scared me to death.
That's when he got his wife alive for him.
Listen to me. If you interrupt again, it's not going to be good for your case. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good.
So at that point, I tried to make phone calls to my sister and to my wife, and I couldn't do that through the phone system in the jail. And so I was calling Paul to assist me in that situation. He had an attitude that he didn't want to be bothered with it. We were supposed to be friends. I mean, we've been friends for 7 years.
Let's get to the rifle, please.
It came up with a situation where I offered him $100 to help me out, if that's what it took to get my friend to help.
He offered me his deer rifle.
And
I am going to throw you out if you do it again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
We proceed my way, which is I hear him, I hear you, I ask questions. If I look at you, you respond. If I don't look at you, you don't speak. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. So you offered him $100 to help you. That's what you're telling me.
In a sense, and I asked him if he could go pick up my items, so when I got out, I would not be able to go back home. And he acted annoyed. He didn't really want to do this, so that's when I offered him the $100 situation. I says, look, Paul, when you go pick up my stuff, you can hold my rifle for me as collateral until I pay you the $100. And then all of a sudden he was all excited about, well, okay, I'll help you out.
And then you got out of jail, and he helped you out.
Well, when I got out of jail,
No, he helped you out.
he made phone calls.
Good.
And he went and got my stuff for me, my truck.
Okay, and the rifle.
Yeah. Now, when I got out of jail, he wouldn't let me stay at his home because he had his grandparents over there. But besides that fact, my wife had moved out of the house. And so I immediately went and got a court order to allow me to move back into my own home.
Now, okay, let's get to the rifle.
He came over to my house, and he sat down and started talking, and I asked him to go get my rifle, and I give him a $100 check. And he at that time told me that he had given it to his father, which made me very off. So I asked him to leave my home immediately because I didn't want to get in trouble for any kind of domestic violence.
Okay. Now, sir, I'll hear your version of the rifle.
Okay, he was in and out of jail starting in April. I picked him up from jail every time he was there.
How many times did you pick him up?
At least 3.
2
I can remember. I took him out to dinner after I picked him up, gave him cigarettes when he got out of jail. He called me repeatedly, constantly, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day, whining and crying he's in jail. Please get me out of here, please get me out of here. Of course, the last time he got out of jail, I didn't give him a place to stay because my grandparents were there. That was the last time. Plus, I was fed up with it anyway. Now come to the rifle, he's crying on the phone, whining, I'm doing everything I can, bending over backwards for the guy.
He called you from jail?
Yeah, constantly. He goes, you know, for helping me out, you're such a good friend, and I don't have the money to give you, but I'll give you the rifle because I know you like it for your time and effort and just bending over backwards for me. Well, as a friend, that's great. So I took the rifle. So we went to pick up the rifle from Darla, me and my wife, and when I got the rifle, she goes, don't ever let Rhett buy this rifle back or give it to him. Because if something happens to you, it's going to be on your conscience. Next thing you know, I pick up Darla from the hospital because her arm's all bruised up and sprained.
Is that as a result of this domestic violence dispute?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Then I just decided forget it. I got the rifle out of my control, and I said, forget it. I'm not going to let him buy it back from me. I'm not going to even give it back. Because if something does happen, it is on my conscience.
Well, just 1 second. Was there any mention at the point where he said take the rifle of his wanting to buy the rifle back from you?
No, not at all.
At that point, he just said take it.
For my time and effort and everything else.
I believe you.
Okay.
Because I watched his eyes when he said to me...
I have a witness that heard the conversation.
Really?
My witness heard the conversation on the speakerphone.
I'm more than happy to hear a witness. Who's the witness?
My sister, Jade.
Tell me your name.
Jade Houston.
All right, Miss Houston. You overheard the conversation about the rifle?
My brother Hugh said, I'm giving him the rifle as collateral to give him $100 when I'm able to get back to work to get the money.
You heard him say that?
Yes, I did.
That's what he told her, but that's not what he told me.
I was on
That's not what he told me and my wife. That's not what he told me. She was on the speakerphone at the time he said it.
You're the wife?
Yes.
Step up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hugh Houston says after he was arrested for domestic violence, he gave former friend Paul Pierce a rifle as collateral for bail. Hugh says Paul refuses to return it.
Mrs. Houston, there came a time when the defendant came to your house when your husband was incarcerated. You evidently had a rifle in your house that belonged to your husband.
Yes.
What did Mr. Pierce say to you when he came to the house?
He said he needed to pick up the rifle and Hugh's belongings. And I was kind of scared, and I told him, you know, that he needed to keep this rifle because I was scared.
He never said to you at any time that he picked up the rifle, that it was just as collateral for other monies. Is that right?
No, he never said. He just said that he needed to pick up his gun and his tools and his truck and things like that. Yes.
And you gave it to him?
Yes.
And how many times had Mr. Pierce come to your husband's assistance when he had been incarcerated? More than 2?
I would say 2 or 3 times, yes.
Okay, and that was going to jail, taking care of the bail bondsman, whatever had to be done, coming to your house, picking up stuff for him, that sort of stuff?
Yes.
So he was a pretty reasonable friend. Be a fair statement?
Yes, he was.
Are you back living together now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been married?
Well, we're not legally.
17 years.
We're not legally married is what she was going to say. How long have you been together?
17 years.
You have children?
1.
How old?
She's 9.
She at home when these acts of domestic violence take place?
Yes.
Big mistake. Have a seat.
Okay.
Okay. Let me hear. You may be seated. Let me hear about your counterclaim, Mr. Pierce.
I gave him petty cash. I bought him dinner a couple of times. He stayed in our guest house for a little while, and my wife keeps her ferret and her cat there.
This is a shack, not a guest house.
Mr. Houston,
doesn't
I don't
matter.
want Mr. Houston. Uncross your arms and be quiet unless I'm speaking to you.
Anyway, we let him stay in the studio. But the thing is he was taking the light bulbs out for some reason, the fluorescent light bulbs, taking them out. The ferret walks out. He jumps up onto the cot, breaks the cot, and broke the light bulbs. Now, I didn't see it, but he told my wife, and my wife had to clean it up. So we're suing for the light bulbs, the cot, all the collect calls from jail, which adds up to about $120.
Well, do you have proof of the
Yes, I do.
calls from jail? I'd like to see that, please.
There's a couple calls on there I didn't get on there. I just misplaced the bill.
It's all right with you, ma'am. I'd like to see these phone numbers that he's claiming against me.
I'm going to absolutely show you, sir. All right. All I want you to do, Mr. Houston, is to take a look at these phone charges, sir. All collect calls.
I'd have to say that these calls are probably legit.
Okay, good. Fine.
Now, he did stay with us on and off, and yeah, he did get his place back after he got out of jail.
That's okay, sir. You had no rental agreement with him.
No.
Mr. Houston, I don't know whether anybody else gave you a pep talk about what happens when children witness acts of domestic
fully aware of it,
violence.
ma'am.
I'm sure that they
At this
have.
point right now, I do have counseling happening, and I am attending it.
Anger management program?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
And what about your child? Is it a boy or a girl?
It's my daughter.
Is she in counseling as well?
No, she's not.
She ought to be.
She's a happy child.
She's not a happy child. Happy children don't see their parents fighting and their mothers ending up in slings. Happy children, if they hear
We had a very stressful time in our lives. My mother was dying, and our financial
I don't
situation
care.
was bad because
I
I
don't
was doing
care.
a lot of traveling back and
Mr.
forth.
Houston, doesn't make any difference.
I know it doesn't.
Children
yeah.
don't. All I'm doing is suggesting to you that if you're in counseling, I don't know if your wife is in counseling, but certainly if you want to be good parents, you make sure that your child has somebody to speak to, because that's important. She may not be able to verbalize it to you, but she's probably witnessed things that it's unfair for a child to have witnessed, and you're supposed to make sure that you are protective of her.
I totally agree with that.
Okay? And
what I don't agree with is the way you believe his story, because there's no way in a million years I'd give up my rifle.
Yes, you would. If you were in jail and you wanted out fast enough, you would.
Ma'am, it's not true. It's not true at all.
Yes, it
is.
The fact of the matter, I was giving him $100 to cover the expenses of the situation.
Okay, no, you
now, I
can give
expected him to be a friend, and he really didn't want to act as one. And I offered, Paul, you can hold on to my rifle as collateral.
Can I ask
and
you a
that's what it
question?
became,
Can I ask you a
collateral.
question, sir? What acts of friendship have you done for Mr. Pierce?
The reason what have I done for him?
Yeah, I would like to.
This is a guy who came over to our house for holiday dinners. This is the guy I offered my garage for him to fix his car. While he dropped, when I asked him not to put oil all over my driveway, and he spilled oil all over the entire garage, and then smeared it all over the place. This is a man that has no integrity about anything whatsoever.
No, you're not answering my question, Mr. Houston. My question to you, sir, is what have you done in the framework of your friendship for Mr. Pierce?
He calls me periodically, lots of times, to talk about his son. He has a custody situation with his son.
So
he
he
asks
calls
me
you
for
for
advice and guidance towards that situation.
I would never want.
He worked. He just recently. He had to rebuild the Toyota engine in his engine in his Toyota truck. I came over here about 3 days in a row and helped him with that. I'm a helpful guy. I go out of my way to help people when they need help.
It doesn't
I'm not
compare,
one to sit
it
there
doesn't
and
compare, Mr. Houston, to the aggravation that your incarcerations caused him. Doesn't compare. Having him over for dinner is not it. And I can, quite frankly, Mr. Houston, envision the conversation of, you like the rifle, take it.
No,
And
ma'am,
you
it's
shouldn't have
not
the
the way
rifle
it
in your
went
possession
down.
anyway, so you're not getting the rifle back. And in addition, you're going to pay him for the phone calls that you made collect to his house in the amount of $160. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's a piece of garbage. I want my rifle back.
It's just slime bags like that, you know, that take advantage of everybody.
You should have called him and said, do you have my money? If not, I'm going to get rid of the gun.
Darla needs to get out of that relationship. He constantly beat her for the last 10 or 15 years.
To carry things by yourself and don't trust a soul.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Campbell versus Mason. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Katie Campbell and her mother, Kathy Campbell, are suing Katie's former friend, 17-year-old Tim Mason, and his mother, Tamara Mason. Katie says Tim cut her hair against her will.
Miss Campbell, this is your daughter?
Yes.
And you're suing on her behalf, is that right?
Yes.
And Miss Mason, this is your son?
Yes.
And you're defending this suit on his behalf because you are how old, sir?
17 years old.
All right, so I'd like all the mothers to sit down, please. I'm going to make short work of this. Miss Campbell, it is your complaint that the defendant assaulted you by cutting your hair off.
Yes.
And you want him to pay all sorts of damages because you wanted to be a model and it took you 5 years to grow your hair. And that was your crowning glory, and he made a mess of it when he cut it. Is that right?
Correct.
Is this the young lady that you were with when he cut your hair?
Yes.
All right, you step up here. Let's do this very, very fast.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Katie Campbell says former friend, 17-year-old Tim Mason, cut her hair against her will. Katie says it's been a serious setback to her modeling career.
You wanted to get your hair done?
Yeah.
She was just going along for the ride.
Right, it was her.
Where were you going to go to get your hair done?
He was coming to our house. He was just a friend of hers.
Okay, and he wants to be a hairdresser?
No, not
You
at all.
just want to be...
I don't want nothing to do with hair. They asked me as a favor. I do my hair every once in a while, pull it through a cap, and they asked me to come over to do it out of a favor.
What were you going to do for this young lady?
Fix Katie's mess up of her hair dye.
Color or a cut?
Color.
Color. So he was going to color you. Now, why would you let him color your hair?
He was a friend of hers.
Friend of whose?
My sister's. Mine.
Now, did he color your hair?
Yes, he did.
Good. And then he cut your sister's hair.
Right.
Tell me how that happened.
Well, he cut my sister's hair. I mean, he colored my sister's hair. And then he pulled me into the bathroom, and he had...
How did he pull you? You're bigger than he is.
Well, he said, come into the bathroom, and I said, okay, what are we doing? And he's like, well, I'm going to feather your hair. And I said, what does that mean? And he pulled out, like, a comb that he had in his own bag, and he said, I'm going to feather it. And I said, well, I don't know what that means. You're not cutting my hair if that's what you mean. And he said, no, I'm not cutting your hair. And he repeatedly said he was not cutting my hair. And I said, okay, then what do you mean by feather it? And he said, just trust me. So he sat me down in the chair, and, you know, he took like a tiny little bit off the ends. And I said, well, that's cutting my hair. And he said, no, I'm just going to take the dead ends off so, you know, so it'll grow faster. And I was like, well, I don't know. So he took all my hair into the back, kind of like a ponytail, and he took the comb and he just hit it like really hard right in the middle. And like in a matter of seconds, it was all gone. And so then I started...
Bye-bye! It's all gone.
And so I started crying, and I was screaming, and I was saying, you know, stop. And
stop, and then he finished it up. All right, give me your version.
I came over, Katie picked me up, met me at a specific location to go to a supply store to get bleach for her hair and a couple of supplies. I asked Katie, okay, are we going to do your hair? She said, okay, we'll buy an extra kit for mine, just in case I like Shelly's hair, how it turns out. So she bought all the products. We bought a kit for her. I brought this comb, and I said, okay, if you wanted to do your hair, feather it, whatever, this is what I got. This is a feathering, texturizing comb. It is used to texturize and feather hair. It does not use to chop off big amounts of hair.
So would you just tell me how come you cut her hair? Tell me what happened.
She asked me to cut her hair.
And where did she ask you to cut her hair?
At her sister's apartment, in the bathroom.
Where? In the bathroom.
Yes.
How did she get into the bathroom?
We walked into the bathroom.
Both of you walked in. You didn't
We
pick her
all-
up. You didn't pick her up and carry her there,
No.
did you?
No.
No.
Willingly.
Huh?
We all willingly went to the bathroom, had, she had Kool-Aid, we were all having a good time. I was playing
Listen,
with her son.
Miss Campbell, get over it. Get over it. You were playing around with your sister. She was letting some unprofessional teenager do stuff on her hair. Whether you let him, whether he was acting like an idiot or not, you have choices. Your choice is, you don't go to the bathroom, you don't sit down, you don't say, I don't understand what feathering is. What's feathering? Is it going to cut my hair? You say, don't touch my hair, it's my crowning glory.
She did. I did.
Then you leave.
I tried,
She tried
and he pushed me
her
back down. And he hit my arm down too when I was trying to stop him.
He
and he
tried to
said,
push his arm away.
"Shut the f up and get over it. It's done and done." And
But it was already done.
Yeah,
already
when
done.
he was doing it, and then he's like, "I need to fix it," and this is my career. I've been growing it out, and
So, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
I don't
You all
know.
put yourself in this situation. The three teenagers put themselves in this situation. He certainly doesn't have any money to pay you. Why should his mother have to deal with that? I want to tell you something. If you're not a professional hairdresser, if you're not licensed, you're not supposed to be working on anybody. Your only redeeming trait right now is that you are 17 and you are not of age where you could really lose the ability to practice this kind of career permanently. You understand that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is this what you want to do as a profession?
I was doing it for favor. I don't want nothing to do with hair. Nothing.
So that I don't understand why you would even
I was
take
doing the
somebody
favor.
else's head.
They didn't have the money to get it done. She says, "Oh, I saw, your friend."
Mr. Mason, listen to me very carefully. If you
I don't
don't
want
know
nothing to do
anything
with hair,
about
that's it.
hair, if you don't profess to know anything about hair, and don't indicate that you know anything about hair, why wouldn't Shelley have her sister do the same thing on her hair that you did if you know nothing about hair? If you don't profess to know anything about hair. Do you understand?
I understand.
It doesn't make any sense unless you suggest that one of them likes you, one of them has a crush on you.
Katie asked me to homecoming.
Did she?
Yes.
When?
In the beginning of the fall, and I wasn't able to make it.
Is that right?
Your Honor, he's gay, and he said that he
I'm
he
gay?
said he would go as a friend. Yes, he said he would go as a friend because she didn't have a date and she didn't want to miss the only dance because she's doing internet
So
school.
did you go together?
No, he ditched me for it. He didn't show up.
Even more reason not to invite him over to your home.
Right. Well, he apologized
to
and
take
everything, and he
care
had a message
of
on
things
there. Right.
that he has no business taken care of, which means he
Right.
lets somebody who has absolutely no training do anything
Right.
to you, because aside from anything else, you could get hurt. Not just your hair, which grows back. You know, whether it takes 6 months or a year, your hair's going to grow back.
Right.
What other thing? You're using bleach on your head, you're using caustic materials, you're letting some schlemiel over you who has no talent take care of you. Very foolish. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Wacker versus Matza. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Wacker, you and the defendant, according to what I've read, were engaged to be married and were living together since 1999. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it is your claim that when she moved out, you got a phone bill of $1,500 for the psychic hotline. And you claim that the calls were her calls.
That's right.
But you acknowledge making some of those calls yourself.
Not the 900 calls.
You made no 900 calls
None.
yourself. Okay. Ms. Matza says she admits making half of the calls. She said you did make some of those calls. Her defense is that while you were together, she put her money in an account that was used for paying household bills, and there was more than enough money there to cover that phone bill. In addition, she has a counterclaim because she says you took back the engagement ring, you stole it out of her jewelry box, and she wants you to pay for the wedding dress because she had no reason to break off the engagement. That's your counterclaim, right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So you started to live together in 1999, and you broke up when?
January 17th of 01.
Now, how did you handle the finances between 1999 and January of 01? Did you have a joint account, or did you have one account to pay bills, and was it your account?
Well, I put together a joint account. Okay.
So you had a joint account.
Right. I had canceled out the joint account during when we had a problem before that January 17th date. I canceled all that account out, so that account was gone. Everything was in my name.
In the year 2000, did you have a joint account?
Yes,
And did you both put money into that account?
I did, yes.
You mean the defendant didn't put any money into that
Very
account?
little.
Very little is not an answer. She put money in that account.
Yes.
So if she put in any money into that joint account is both of yours. Because no court, not this court, is going to go back for a year and figure, well, I put in $500, she put in $25. I put in $2,000, she put in $500. It's not going to happen. As long as she put in some money, that money was all of yours. Now, tell me the month you closed out that account.
It was closed out in January.
January of 01.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And how much money was in the account at that time?
About $200.
You have any paperwork to prove that?
None.
Oh, how did you handle the finances with regard to rent and...
I paid all bills. I signed all the checks. I signed all the mortgage payments. I signed everything. Everything was in my name because she couldn't have an account. She owed everybody so much money for everything that never once we couldn't, and nothing could be put in her name.
Okay. Now, during the time that you were together, had the defendant ever made calls to the psychic hotline before?
Never. Never, never, never.
This
She'd
was the
like to
first
go to
time.
psychics, though.
But this was the first time she had ever used the psychic hotline.
Correct. Matter of fact, the date, the January 17th, was a date I told her that it was time for her to go and move out, and that's the exact date that she started making these phone calls.
Can I see the bill, please?
Absolutely.
So what were you trying to find out from this psychic?
Your Honor, it wasn't only me. It was him, too, okay? And he was not only calling these psychics
Judge, that's
because...
untrue.
Shh, don't speak. You see how quiet she was?
Because they were calling his house approximately 4:30 every night asking for him. He not only started this with calling these psychics, he went on the online at nighttime calling them, too. And I am the witness for that because I was sitting right alongside of him watching this.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Wacker?
I'm a safety manager for a second largest school bus company in the United States.
You work Monday through Friday?
Yes.
What time?
Usually from 8 in the morning to 5 at night.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a school bus driver for the first largest school bus company, Laidlaw. And I work...
Just your hours of work.
6:30 to 5.
You drive kids to school and then you go home?
Yes, and I do trips in between.
Just a second. You drive kids to work and then you go home. Okay. Well, some of these calls are in the evening.
From that January 17th date on, I didn't spend very much time at home. As a matter of fact, I made sure I wasn't at home.
Okay.
And because I didn't want to be anywhere around her. As far as me making any phone calls to the psychic hotlines, there's a 1-800 number that you can call to get a voice stamp. Every one of those phone calls had her voice on it as a voice stamp.
All right.
Which means she made the phone call. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Now, I got the psychic calls. Psychic calls were $1,400.
Right.
Right? Okay. Half of that is $750 because he was still living together. Now, I want to move on to you. He took back
Yes,
the
ma'am.
engagement ring?
Yes. He stole it out of my jewelry box while I was in the process of moving.
That's okay. He's entitled to it back. He should have asked for it nicely, but he's entitled to it back. Engagement is over. Ring is given in contemplation of marriage. It goes back to the person who gave it. That's him. Let's get to the wedding dress. That's the wedding dress?
Yes, ma'am.
So why should he pay for it?
I can't wear it. I can't even sell it. I've put things in the courier post. No calls. I cannot sell
I don't think
it.
it'll fit me. So.
Cute.
Thank you.
What other arrangements were made for the wedding?
None. There was no hall booked. There was no caterers. There was no music. There was
a
nothing
date
booked.
set?
Yeah, it was supposed to be July 7th.
Okay. And when did you buy the wedding dress?
I bought it in September, the year before, 2000.
Why?
Because he told me it was time, everything was serious.
Time for what?
For us to be engaged. So he told me, go out and buy your wedding dress, and that's what I did.
So, put it away. Maybe you'll use it again. He's not paying for that. But you also understand, Mr. Wacker, that I have to make a judgment with regard to these bills. You and the defendant were living... What? I'm speaking. You and the defendant were living together as a couple.
Correct.
Bills being paid as a couple. If, let us say, this relationship did not terminate in January or February, and she made these psychic calls. What you would have done is had a fit.
I had a fit anyway when I saw the bill.
Well, but by that time you had a fit and you didn't have any of the perks that go along with the relationship. But if you were together, it's like, you know, one mate going out and buying 6 pairs of shoes. What are you, crazy? 6 pairs of shoes? You only have 2 feet. What can you use 6 pairs of shoes for? You have a big fight. And then it's finished, and you move on. You don't say, you're going to pay for every one of those shoes, go out and get a job. You don't, whatever.
But may I interject?
Yeah, you may, but you get where I'm going, sir.
Yeah,
you were a couple.
But
Until
at that point, from the 17th on, or actually, the night before that, the 17th, okay?
Yeah.
It was the 16th, is when I told her to move. Technically then, we weren't a couple anymore.
Yes, you were.
And she made these calls, and she made these calls, and she shouldn't have, because she's trying to find out whether or not the relationship's going to continue to work or whatever. You know what I mean? Well, I guess who it was, Miss Cleo, or whoever she called, told her I guess it wasn't going to work, or didn't believe her, so she kept calling her. You know, I just don't feel I should have to pay for all of her phone calls when it was a proven fact that she made the phone calls with the voice stamps. Her voice is on every one of those
You're
phone
not
calls.
following me, sir. You're trying to say the relationship was over at the time when I told her it was over. You're living in the same house. You've been living in the same house for a couple of years. She needs time to put her things together, to find another place to live, to do all of those things. That's what happens
But
when
I'm
one
not
of these
asking her to pay anything else.
Hey, listen to me very carefully, sir. That's the drill. You're a couple. You come in here and you say, first I'm a couple, then I'm not a couple. You want your things back. You want the engagement ring back because the engagement was over. You're entitled to it back because it's over. Had you been married, you wouldn't get the engagement ring back. There are certain things that a relationship has as intrinsic to the relationship. In this case, since 1999, the bills were paid out of a joint account up until a couple of days before you decided to terminate it. So you lived as a couple. Half of the psychic bills come to $737. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $737. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
By the way, I wouldn't have needed a psychic to know this relationship was not going to work.
I can't believe she lied up there like she did about saying that I made these psychic phone calls.
He's a user, a loser. I'm glad she's got him, and I'm glad I'm out of it.
That's ridiculous.
I put closure to this. He can't. He needs to end it.
আপনারা অনেকেই বলেন যে এইভাবে কিভাবে সিনেমাটিক ভিডিও করি, তো ভিডিওটি শেষ পর্যন্ত দেখেন, আমি বলবো ভিডিওর হ্যালো এভরিওয়ান, আজকে আমার মনটা একটু খারাপ, কারণ আজকে আমি একটু সিক, ভাল লাগতেছে না। তো দেখেন আমি যাচ্ছি একটা জায়গায় আমাকে দাওয়াত দিছে একটা বার্থডে এক ছোটো বোনের। তো আমি যাচ্ছি, যাওয়ার সময় দেখেন একটা ভিউ, রাস্তার যে ভিউটা আমি একটু উপভোগ করতেছি এবং মনটা খুবই খারাপ। দেখতে পাচ্ছেন যে আমি গাড়ির ভিতরে খুবই মন মরা হয়ে বসে আছি। তো আমি যাচ্ছি, যাওয়ার সময় পথে অনেক কিছু দেখলাম। তো যাক, আমরা এখন খুব কাছাকাছি চলে আসছি সেই রেস্টুরেন্টটার। তো আমরা এখন ঢুকবো। তো দেখতে পাচ্ছেন এই যে রেস্টুরেন্টটা, এটা হচ্ছে খুবই সুন্দর একটি রেস্টুরেন্ট, এটা উত্তরা দিয়াবাড়িতে। তো অনেক সুন্দর একটি রেস্টুরেন্ট, আমি একটু পর্যবেক্ষণ করে দেখতেছি, অনেক সুন্দর। তারপরে হচ্ছে আপনার একটু লাইটিংটা দেখেন, আর এখানে আমি, তপু ভাই, ফয়সাল সবাই মিলে এখানে আমরা হচ্ছে দেখতেছি আর কি সব কিছু ঘুরা। তো দেখতে পাচ্ছেন এখানে বিছনার মধ্যে সব কাপল যারা আছে বৈশা চা খাইতেছে। আমি উপরে লাইটিংটা একটু দেখাই। তো এরপরে হচ্ছে আমার বন্ধু ইসরাফিলের ভিডিও করতেছিলাম, ও করতেছে। এরপরে হচ্ছে অন্তরে বললাম একটা ভিডিও কর, অন্তরে যে চিমিরে ভিডিও করতেছে, যে ফয়সাল, অন্তর, আমি সবাই মিলা এই রেস্টুরেন্টে আসছি ছোটো বোনের বার্থডে সেজন্য। তো যাই হোক, আমরা হচ্ছে সব কিছু আড্ডা দিব এখন। আর এর মধ্যে আমার বন্ধু আমার কইতেছে একটা ভিডিও করে দেয়, যে ভিডিও করে দিতেছি, ও যাচ্ছে। তো যাই হোক, আমি পরবর্তী ভিডিওতে আর কি সব কিছু বলবো। আপনারা সবাই সাথে থাকবেন, আর যারা এখনও আমাদের এই চ্যানেলটি সাবস্ক্রাইব করে নাই, সাবস্ক্রাইব করবেন। তো ওর ভিডিও করে দিচ্ছি, তো সবাই থাকেন, ওর একটু ভিডিও করে দেই, ভালো লাগবে। তো যাই হোক, বাই বাই, টাটা।